Well, friends, I think that's my cue. It is Wednesday, the 1st of April, 2026. And despite there being the onset of a thunderstorm breaking out here where I am on the Mayan Riviera in Mexico, it is a most propitious day, that much I can assure you. I was just pondering for the last few minutes watching the intro media, which incidentally, hats off to the New Earth team, beautifully composed film there. Just my preponderance was that so many people looking in and seeing, the Titanic, and seeing Nixon, and seeing Jekyll Island, seeing these different historical nodes that occurred. We've all been culturally and historically so sublimely unaware, ignorant, and also indifferent to truth, to reality. How could we be anything but indifferent or ignorant to truth or to reality so long as we were being butchered, literally, through world wars and through the hegemony of this blood economy, mind-fucked into enslavement, mind, body, and soul. Every one of us, our parents, our grandparents, our ancestors, for thousands of years. This is a Babylonian edifice, friends, that is on the brink of auto-destruct. Auto-destruct by the grace of God, according to a living principle, which is the revelation of pure truth in our age. We are the custodians, we are the guardians, we are the sentinels of this age. We are the sons and daughters of God, the children of God. And it is incumbent upon us, those of us who do conduct right action and stand in pure truth, it is incumbent upon us to stand today, now, at this time, at this end of time. It is incumbent upon us to stand. The reclamation of sovereignty, of jurisdiction, is where and how we manifest the kingdom of heaven on earth. It is the living principle. We have to bear living witness, be the testament to the living time, the time that we're in right here, right now. As I mentioned, it's the end of time. That's what we've covered in the Lazarus Symposium for 6 years now, looking at the mechanics of the end of time, time being the Titan, Cronus, the Titan that devoured its own young, Cronus, the crown of England, the crowns of Europe, the crowning glory, the crown, the onset of registration, Rex the king that wears the crown, registration to Cronus, offering our babes up, sacrificial harvest, sacrifice of innocence, harvest of humanity. These are the great technologies that have prevailed. And we are emerging, blinking into a new dawn, emerging from that fitful sleep of indentureship, of enslavement. But it was us being enslaved to our own ignorance. Be clear about that. Friends, there is no enemy out there. In that sense, this is what coming of age means. And to enter into a 0-point economy and a 0-point social ecology, we are required to stand in pure truth. I'm not scripted. I haven't written any notes here. I'm not reading off any notes. It's a big broadcast, this. It's going to be seen by millions. I'm not nervous. I'm not anxious at all, because I know where I stand in this world. I stand in the living moment, and that's what matters. Each of us must exchange fire in the eyes and speak heart to heart if we are to engender and manifest the kingdom of heaven on earth. So the economy, the way we say farewell to the old Saturnian, satanic, Luciferic, blood ritualistic, Canaanite, Atlantean economics model, the way we say goodbye to that and then bring on the new is a grace point. And you're invited into that grace point. And friends, That grace point is today. So we're finding ourselves at this turning point in the evolution of value. For generations, financial systems have drifted further and further from tangible reality, detaching from assets, becoming more and more centralized in control, and increasingly opaque in operation and obviously accountability. So what emerges now, it reflects a completely different orientation, one that restores the relationship between value and substance, one that invites responsibility and accountability alongside participation, one that reintroduces structure where there has been abstraction. In fact, there has been endemic chaos, but it was orchestrated chaos. That's what a goddamn war economy is. Today's broadcast, today's launch of the New Earth Exchange opens that field of exploration. So this gathering today serves as a convergence of historical insight and forward architecture. And we're going to begin by tracing the lineage of the current financial system, and that's largely through the iconic voices of G. Edward Griffin and Dr. David Martin. On the back of that, Scott and I will, Scott's in the green room right now having a cigar. We'll pick up the conversation on the back end of these two interviews, and then I'll introduce the panel and then the exchange. And boy, oh boy, in the next 2 hours, you people are going to be educated. You're so very, very welcome. Christy, that's your cue. Ed, it is obviously a very rare privilege to sit with you, not only as the author of The Creature from Jekyll Island, but as one of the very few individuals who, decades ahead of the curve, identified and articulated the architecture of modern financial power. And just to set the stage there, in 1910, under conditions of extraordinary secrecy, a small group of banking and political elites convened at Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia. Traveling under assumed names, they drafted what would become the blueprint for the Federal Reserve System, aka a blood economy, a death economy, an institution presented to the public as a stabilizing force, but which you have argued operates as a private banking cartel with the power to create money out of nothing, monetize debt, and socialize risk. So your work exposed not just a mechanism, but a pattern, the consolidation of financial control, the coupling of central banking with war financing, and the quiet transfer of sovereignty from nations to financial institutions. Now, more than a century later, we appear to be standing at an inflection point where that system is both more powerful than ever and yet increasingly visible, questioned, and perhaps destabilizing under its own weight. So today, I'd like to explore not only the origins of that system, but its trajectory, its consequences, and whether we're now witnessing the early stages of a fundamental shift away from it. And Scott McKay is going to be joining me in sending some probing questions in your direction. But original insight, Ed, when you first began researching what became The Creature from Jekyll Island, what was the single most shocking realization for you, not just about the Federal Reserve itself, but about the nature of power behind it?
First of all, I'd like to say you did an amazing introduction to this topic. You compressed just about all the important features I could think of in that introduction. Congratulations. I don't think I could have done that. Even the general gum-chewing public, if I dare use that phrase, is somewhat aware that there was a lot of skullduggery and dishonesty and deception going on. Well, that's not new. I mean, that's been going on since somebody invented the word government. And so that's not new. And I think just the average guy on the street understands that the bankers somehow always come out on top and the taxpayer always comes out on the bottom. And they're beginning to think that, I wonder if this is a coincidence, and they figured it out. So now your question leads to the future. And then you ask a very tough one, which is what got me moving in this direction? probably the most interesting thing that got me focused on the subject of the Federal Reserve is the secrecy that you already mentioned that was surrounding the formational meeting on Jekyll Island back in 1910. It was astounding what I really discovered, and it was hidden in plain sight. It was not difficult at all to discover uh, authentic documents demonstrating, proving, in fact, documents from the perpetrators themselves talking about what they were doing, why they were doing, and how important it was to keep the public from understanding what was going on. So when you find the devil describing himself, and it's all written down and you have a copy of it, you don't need to go much further than that. But then I realized, no, there were some sinister elements to it. And so, okay, the secret is to answer to your first question is when I discovered how, to what great lengths these people went to conceal what they were doing. You don't have to be a genius to figure out that when there are secrets, there's usually something to hide. And I was curious of what are they hiding? It seemed on the surface they were just trying to create a more efficient banking system, even though it was obvious that they were designing it in such a way that it would be more lucrative to them than to anybody else. Well, that's not too shocking. That's more or less expected. But there was something deeper than that. And I of course, I started off at ground zero of no knowledge about banking or money or financial history at all. And it was a terrible handicap, Sacha, because, well, ignorance is bliss, I suppose, but it always ends in disaster. And the little side note there, I spent 7 years putting all this thing together, and twice along the road, I decided it was too much for me. I'm just a kid from Detroit. What I had already learned at those stages was gnawing at me. I thought, this is too big a story. It's too important. There are deeper elements that I was discovering. So I went back to it, to make a long story short, and I'm glad I did. But I was convinced that when the final product was completed, and I went on the road on a book tour, and that was sort of harrowing because I figured I'm a fraud. The world is going to discover that I really don't know what I'm talking about. And when I get on stage or on the radio or on a television interview, somebody's going to come along from the university level and blow me apart in front of the whole world. And I was waiting for that very gruesome death when I I was in the East Coast in some little town I've even forgotten. And I had given a speech the night before about the creature from Jekyll Island. And I was invited to go on a radio interview uh, the next morning to talk about it. I thought, oh, this is great. I get to talk about my book. And so I went there. I think it was a 10 o'clock appointment. And I walked into the studio, was ushered into the little cubbyhole thing where the moderator is surrounded by microphones and meters, and there were a couple of chairs and a couple of microphones, and I found that there was another guy in the studio waiting for me. So I was introduced to Professor, whatever his name was, Professor Bubla from the local college, and he was a professor of money and banking. And oh, by the way, Mr. Griffin, you won't mind sharing this interview with the professor, would you? I thought, of course not. I thought, well, Hail Mary, full of grace. This is the end of my life. was, I was going to be slaughtered in public. So I'm telling you the story because I want you to get a flavor of really how I still feel about this topic. Um, so the moderator said, "Well, Mr. Griffin, why don't you take about 3 minutes and just summarize what your proposition was?" I said, "Okay." So I sort of went through the main points of the book. What were the six or seven really important reasons that the Federal Reserve System was a very bad thing? And when I was all done, the moderator turned to the professor and he said, "Well, Professor, what is your response to that?" And there was a long silence, and he sort of looked into space, and I was shivering, waiting for his opening salvo. And he said, well, what he says is true, but we're living well, aren't we? That was his response.
Right.
And in a moment, I knew, my God, I'm
Wow.
free. I made
Wow.
it. I made
Wow.
it.
That's amazing.
So, and that is really the only and the major opposition to my proposition is that everything in the book is accurate. So anyway, the reason I mention that is not because of any pride or anything, but how miraculous it was that I was able to apparently grab hold of this essence of it and get past all of the details, let's say. And I say that because even now, there are many people who understand the Federal Reserve System much better than I do because they work inside it every day and they know how the cogs and the wheels turn. I know what the cogs and the wheels do and what they're supposed to do and what the output is, what the input is, but I don't know how they mesh. And so, but you don't have to know. One
Yeah.
of the first things I discovered is that the biggest obstacle to understanding the Federal Reserve is that is the mistaken idea that it's complicated. They go to great lengths to make it appear to be very complicated. They use a lot of terminology and they have 3 or 4 tier level college courses on discount ratios and all this stuff. And but when you find the big moment came, I guess, when I was writing this in the early days, was that it was very, 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 and I mean very simple. And the simplicity of it is this: it's a scam from start to end. Once you clear that idea out of your mind that it's some kind of a very complicated machine that's designed to do something of value and of benefit to society, and it's got all these moving parts, and yet some of them are malfunctioning, but people are trying hard to make it work, which is the image, of course, that's projected. Once you get that cleared out of your mind and say, no, it's not that at all. It's a scam. You can summarize the Federal Reserve System in 3 words. It's a scam. If you're trying to make the Federal Reserve System sensible, you're you're never going to make it sensible until you understand that the sense within it was to legally plunder the American people. So
Yeah.
get this idea out of your brain that government is the way to go. Government is the last way to go.
Right.
So that's the distinction I would like to make.
Right. Well, government emerged really as the ultimate third-party interventionist technology off the back of the Vatican conspiracy and the Roman Catholic Church in that sense. I mean, the two are very connected. And the genesis of government was really a handover of the baton. So I think we all fairly understand that piece. But coming now to the 21st century and to this point of this inflection point, digital currency and control. So we're now seeing obviously the emergence of central bank digital currencies. We're seeing a proliferation of NFTs and tokens and cryptocurrencies and decentralized mediums of exchange, which in principle is foundationally a good thing. But when you get to the CBDCs, the central bank digital currency, from your perspective, do these represent a natural evolution of the current system or a significant escalation in control mechanism as a response to what was organically emerging as a new horizon of economics, meaning to say
Well,
people wanting to get out of central banking altogether?
the way it's being evolved right now, the motive forces behind it are such that it's clear that it's intended to be a control mechanism. You ask one question is that will you be forced to use the system or will you have the freedom to opt out? Is it mandatory or
Right.
is it your choice? And
Exactly.
none of these programs that are being proposed are going to be your choice. So my motto now is I want the freedom to choose my money. If I want to use American dollars, I'll use it. If I want to use Disneyland tickets, And somebody wants to swap tickets with me as money, let's do it. If I want to use a foreign currency, or if I want to use just ounces of gold or silver, let the market decide in the contest of free will and free options, and let it play out and see which one works.
It's an honor, Ed Griffin, to be able to be on any show with you and to visit you a couple of times. I think it's truly remarkable what you have done. And I really do think that coming into the future, as these systems starts to change, people are going to be asking why they change. And I think the center point is going to be because what you put in motion all these years ago to help people understand this is a very bad thing. Nobody's done that before you. And so I just want to say hats off to you. Much love to you, sir, for everything you've done, not just for this country and this topic, but for humanity in general. And I think as time evolves in history, that'll show to be exactly that. That book, many people know the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island. They've never even read it, even thought about it, or even inquired about it, but they know the title. And I think that book is going to become a major bestseller again as time goes on, because everybody's going to wonder, how the hell did we get here? How did they do this? When they realize among the masses, not just us, but the masses. And I see that coming as part of your legacy. So all I just want to say is a thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. I'm people say I'm too humble. I say, you're too humble. No, I am not too humble. I just happen to know what I don't know. And most people have no idea how big a topic that is.
And Scott, just reflecting on your accolade there to Ed, maybe it's not that he's such a brilliant writer of incredible books, but just that he has this gift to come up with the greatest titles ever conceived.
Yeah,
Let's face
absolutely.
it. No, I'm joking, of course, but the point being, Creature from Jekyll Island, what a title of a book. My God, who doesn't want to know what that
Truly.
read it? Well, Scott said it best a moment ago, but just to mirror his sentiments, Ed, what your work consistently reveals, always ahead of its time, is that the system we've been subjected to has never been neutral. It's been engineered, debt-based, centrally controlled, ultimately dependent on a perpetual expansion to sustain only itself, which is the point you're making. And now we're seeing the limits of that architecture. So on one side, attempts to reinforce it through digital control systems and tighter financial integration. On the other, the rise of decentralized technologies challenging issuance and trust and intermediaries altogether. But beyond even that, there's a deeper conversation beginning to take shape, and one that moves past both fiat and crypto as we currently understand them. Scott alluded to this a little earlier. This is a question of whether economics itself can be refounded, not on scarcity, manipulation, or debt expansion, but on actual value creation, energy, integrity, and transparency of exchange. So what we're calling a zero-point economy, or true cost economics, where systems are designed not to extract, but to reflect real input, real output, and real human contribution. And perhaps that's the real pivot that we're standing in, not just a shift in systems, but a shift in consciousness, from inherited structures to consciously designed ones. Ed Griffin, thank you for obviously a lifetime of clarity and courage, which continues unabated. And in closing, Ed, you've spent decades diagnosing the architecture of control. And as we close here, I'd like to ask not just what has been, but what could be, if humanity were to take seriously the insights that you've shared over your lifetime. So what, in essence, does the next 20 to 30 years look like to you?
That it doesn't take a lot of people working together in concerted action to overcome the undirected majority. History is always written by 3% of the population, supported by 15% of the population. And we've already got 15%, but they just don't know they're there. They think they're alone.
Yeah.
I think probably about 20 to 25% of the population today, maybe that's high. Let's go to 18%. I know we have 15%. All we have to do is get those people working together who have something to believe in, like individualism. Anyway, thanks for allowing me to speak on these topics and meander all over the place. And anytime you want to do it again, let's do it again.
A lot of people forget that all the way back to 1776, Adam Smith actually forecast that the capitalist system as described in The Wealth of Nations was going to have a used by date. Not surprisingly, we hit it. It's always nice to know that a plan works. Now, whether it worked for everybody, we clearly know that it worked for the people who designed the plan. Ironically, though, as Morgenthau and others said in the 1940s, there is a little bit of a glitch because it worked for the people for whom it worked. But now we're at the inflection point, as you say, we're at that tipping point where the incumbency did not appropriately plan for the fact that they're the ones upon whom this weight will ultimately fall. And as empires collapsing goes, we have a particularly unprepared empirical system that is about to have Samson's pillars collapse on itself. So this is a very fascinating time. But the good news is, if we read the architect's own plans, this is exactly what was going to happen. There was going to be a time, using the terminology that was used at the time, where the rentier, that was the people with money, were going to become irrelevant. And they were going to become irrelevant because the system built on death contracts, aka mortgages, which is where we even get the term mortgage, to die, the contract to die. The system built on mortgages, the system built on permanent indenture, the system built on the devaluation of the natural ecosystem, including humanity, for the purpose of the expansion and extraction of wealth to the few. That system was known to be flawed. It was architected to be flawed. And the giant surprise to nobody is we hit the use by date. So this is like bad milk. It's time to pour it out. It's not dramatic. It's not a surprise. It's not something that anybody should be overly concerned about because, as is always the case, when an old system collapses, it appears to be entropic. It appears to fall into pieces. But all it's doing is it's cycling. It's going through a phase, and there is a new order that will emerge. And so, like anything else, this is like watching a tree leaf change. You know, the colors change, trees fall off, and then spring happens. We're just happening to watch the fall. And that's kind of an interesting thing and makes for good pictures and makes for romantic candlelit moments. And then, you know, the new thing comes out.
My question is has there been a historical progression to where when these collapses happen, again, I can almost answer that like I think you'd say, look at us now, but do we learn? And the next system that comes in place, have we learned about, you know, the downsides or the fallacies of that one and make a better system? Somebody recently said, Sacha's talked about in the past, we're going to move away from government to governance. Somebody mentioned to me governance could be led by AI, like a benevolent AI, if there's such a thing. I think they're always vulnerable, but is that part of our future? We can't trust you. I'm a capitalist, but you tie capitalist. Now capitalism's tied directly to government. There's cycles happening. It's now imploding on itself because there's always a pollution that comes with it in the greed and all these things that lead these people to positions of power. What does that look like in your opinion, David, past the dissolution of this system that has its sell by date?
Yeah, so let's take a little historical journey because your question, you know, needs some historical context. If we look at what we would consider to be the modern economy, which is a proxy currency-based economy, the proxy currency-based economy is largely a product of the collapse of the Roman Empire. And specifically, if we go back and really look historically, we're talking about the 13th century, which is when we started using what was called representational currency or representational value. It is when the notion of a drawing note or a paper currency could be used in lieu of a tangible exchange of things of value. So up until the 13th century, we had systems that were largely based on prima facie physical and tangible property evidence. You had a piece of gold, you exchange a piece of gold. You had a bucket of corn, you exchanged a bucket of corn. You had a cow, you exchanged a cow. And then, because in large part of the financing cabal of what became the Second and Third Crusades, the church, and specifically Pope Innocent III, who is a major figure in this story, enabled a thing called a promissory note. Now, what is a promissory note? A promissory note says, trust me, I'm good for it. Does anybody have a problem with something might be able to go wrong with that? And what that did at the origins, I mean, we think about the Knights Templar, we think about other secret societies that did demand notes on royal courts all across Europe, all across the Mediterranean, all across the Middle East, where they said, trust me, I have this wealth in one spot, and I'm going to give you a note that entitles you to draw against that wealth at some point. And so what we did, Scott, is we built a system where what became the promissory note, which, by the way, we're using today. That's what even digital currencies are. They are a promissory note. They only exist based on the full faith and confidence in the system that is issuing the note. So if you actually get to a place, and this, by the way, is the reason why most people don't know, the reason why counterfeit is a jurisdiction not of the Department of Justice, but of the Secret Service. Most people don't know that. But counterfeit currency is the purview of the Secret Service, because by the 15th and 16th century, people realized that counterfeit currency was not a threat to an economy. It was a threat to the power system. Very, very famously, the Duke of Sforza in Italy calculated that it takes less than 1% of the circulating currency to be counterfeit to undermine the patronage of the established order of the political system, not of the economic system.
Wow.
Right? Passing off fake notes between traders, nobody gives a shit. If I give you a bad dollar, you pass along a bad dollar and nobody cares, nobody cares. But if I actually introduce enough, and the enough is about 1.5%, counterfeit into the system, I'm actually attacking the head of state. It is the reason why in the First World War we counterfeited the Deutsche Mark, we counterfeited the the Germans counterfeited the British pound. It's the reason why during the Big Bay of Pigs invasion we counterfeited the Cuban peso. Every one of these things is an act of war, and the reason I'm bringing this up is that we've known this, that we've known the system failure since the 15th century. We've known the systemic problem since 1604. So in the 17th century, at the establishment of the British East India Company, we created something else, which was the notion that a letter of marque, which was the authorization of piracy. And you hear what I just said? The
Yes.
authorization of piracy, not pirates being pirates. Now, they were being pirates. Let's be abundantly clear. This was a legally sanctioned form of piracy. But letters of marque became part of the destabilization of what was considered the reserve currencies of the time. And giant surprise, the British East India Company and the Hudson Bay Company notoriously were granted by the British Crown the ability to take large loads of bullion, large loads of rubies and jewels and spices and you name it. And they took it from the Spanish, they took it from the Portuguese, they took it from all kinds of people. Why? Because that's an act of war to take the currency standard, the trust me basis, and pull it out from under you. And that is the reason why, and most people don't understand the T-tax question of the founding of this republic. But the fact of the matter is, the real reason why there was a threat, the real reason why taxation without representation and the Boston Tea Party and all of these anecdotes live in infamy is because what we were really doing was an act of war against the reserve currency of the day. So this thing that we're living through now had the seeds of its destruction sown in 1776. We think of 1776 as the date that somehow the United States kind of gets its founding, but we don't understand that 1776 was Adam Smith's manifesto.
Yes.
And in the manifesto, what he did was he architected what became a friction-based indenture economy. And that's two words I need to unpack. Friction-based means the more intermediaries I put between value exchange, the more wealth I appropriate to an upper class. So if I have a bunch of intermediaries, I have brokers, I have traders, I have insurers, I have bankers, the more pieces of friction I can put in a system, the quote, more value I create. Well, you're not creating value. You're appropriating wealth. And that's the system, giant shock, that then gave rise to the Lloyd's of London and the whole City of London market. It gave rise to what ultimately became New York's version of the City of London, which is in fact the City of London. It gave rise to all of these systems, and everyone based on friction. How many pieces of obstacle can I put between the user and the ultimate consumer? And then the second piece, which is equally important, is this was based on a worldview that was extraction to extinction, meaning I get a thing, I use it, and I throw it away. And we moved from a utilitarian system where the value of a thing was based on what it was worth in its use, to now a system based on what it's worth as an artifact. And the reason why that becomes extremely important is it was the basis around which for the last 250 years, we have defiled every surface of the earth possible, because what we have had to do is consume in a planned obsolescence program to make sure all the friction gets paid to keep the establishment running, while increasingly we have less and less value being exchanged. 100 years ago, you were more likely to have an electric vehicle that ran than you are today.
Right, correct. Correct. So, David, 1776, you're informing us, was essentially source code to auto-destruct, which is now meeting us in full force, Alpha Omega. So the question then becomes, where are the privateers, the pirates, most aggregated today and exemplified or personified today, given what we're looking at, and bring into that the oil and gas constriction that's being orchestrated?
Yeah. So let's take it apart in a couple different layers, because these layers are extremely important. When people like Peter Thiel and people like Bob Mercer become the folks who both purchase political campaigns and ultimately candidates, who are becoming the entities who are the puppeteers, giant surprise that Palantir, Peter Thiel's corporation, somehow mysteriously after Trump's inauguration gets a 400% increase in its market cap within days. You start looking at the friction pieces and you start saying, okay, so the privateers are the people who have had the ability to demand not only the appropriation of resources, but then control the fluidity of those resources in their exchange. Remember, the reason why Palantir is a valuable company, the reason why a lot of the AI companies exist, is because they're mapping friction networks of value exchange. The reason why you need to know that is the same reason why you needed to know trade routes back in the era of Marco Polo. Why did you need to know a trade route? Well, you needed to know where you could actually take down resources. Trade routes were a consolidation of the flow of goods and services, not for the benefit of the flow of goods and services. It was for the benefit of the people who knew which ones they were going to allow to pass and which ones they were going to privateer or pirate. Now, we're doing the same thing right now in the digital world. So when you see the digital currencies, the digital IDs, the online programs, and you see the single point failures that are being done, where we're placing the entirety of sovereign nations, things like Norway and Sweden, who put these digital currencies and digital IDs in place only to find out that they are hackable, only to find out that the dark web now is selling the public's information for the purpose of eroding property rights, currency rights, and banking rights. The privateers, to Sacha's question, and this is so important to name, are actually the companies who are advancing, once again, under the guise of free or nearly free, the addictive platforms, the user interfaces that are drawing people into digital association, digital reliance, and digital systems of command and control. And giant surprise, the fight between Chat and Anthropic Claude is it's theater. The fact of the matter is, under the National Telecommunications Act, after the 1960s Bay of Pigs situation, any signal that moves across any telecommunications frequency is both interceptable and alterable legally under the statute. You know what nobody talks about, Scott? Nobody talks about that. But when all of currency and all of value and all the denomination of the transfer of value is happening under something which can be legally scraped and legally manipulated, we are at the end of an era. And so the privateers are telecommunications companies. They are the tech juggernauts that we have right now. And most importantly, they are the data centers that are popping up all over the place.
Right.
Because those data centers are consolidation points. They are single point failure nodes in a system where you take one, you take them all.
Wow.
Yeah. So from that AI standpoint, obviously, I can see now how that intersects or weaves its way into politics because, again, big tech money, they then now decide who they put in positions to influence or create legislation that allows them to legally steal, basically.
Yeah.
So I guess the big question is, what's the solution here at this point in time with this dissolution? Is there anything we can trust? And I say this, I'm jumping off the back of something Sacha said weeks ago when we were together, I believe. I said governments, and I believe I may be misquoting Sacha, so jump in if I am, but governments are going to go away. The idea of government, which is inherently evil, as Jefferson even said, a necessary evil, will be replaced by governance, and governance by what? Is there an AI that can be programmed to where its mission set is the benevolence of or even the ascension track of the human species for its good in every way? That may be a trustworthy piece of or a trustworthy apparatus whereby we can get the human side out of it, because it's always going to be flawed. Greed kicks in. Is there any possibility that will come into existence, or is there a better plan or system that'll take us across the finish line?
So let's unpack something. I obsess about linguistics on this because it's really important. When we use the term artificial intelligence, we have to take those two words apart for a second, because intelligence is a social construct that was invented for the Industrial Revolution. Intelligence, as a defined term, is pattern recognition. It is not creativity. It's not generativity. It's pattern recognition. And that's what every intelligence test has ever been. That's what every intelligence score has ever been. It's the reason why many men and women get into very heated debates on whether men or women are more intelligent, because the fact of the matter is intelligence, as a legally defined term, was developed for a masculine pattern recognition industrial economy. That's what it was. And artificial, now remember, what you're doing is you're taking an artificial construct and then putting the word artificial in front of an artificial thing, right? Artificial intelligence. Intelligence is artificial in the first place. So artificial, a double negative doesn't make it a positive. It makes it more silly. When I developed the first unstructured data analytics systems back in the late 1990s, so specifically 1998 when we deployed our system, we called it augmented insight. Get the difference? Still AI, but what's augmented insight? Augmented insight is taking information from multiple sources, multiple streams of information, and consolidating it in a form that's usable by a person who could never access that information in a traditional way. Now, think of the difference of this terminology. It's still AI, right? It's still taking huge corpuses of information. It's still putting those together in a way and presenting it in a way that allows the intelligent human interactor to have an experience that is beyond what they could have done on their own. right? This is having a librarian who's read every book in the library able to tell you, oh my gosh, I think you'd really like this book. Why? Well, because I know you and I know what you've read and I know what you like, and therefore I'm going to tell you out of the whole library, here's the book you'd like, right? That's what augmented insight is. That is not artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a mean reversion, and that's a statistical term, but I want to talk about what that means. AI, as it's all deployed everywhere across the earth right now, is a mean reversion exercise, meaning that it is trying to build consensus. It's trying to pull people into a consensus reality. The problem in it is a statistical and mathematical problem, and that is a problem that says there is an expert system that tells you what in Euclidean space, in a projection of reality, what belongs together and what doesn't belong together. That's how all AIs work. Now, here comes the problem. The problem is value does not center around consolidation consensus. Value happens at the margins. So the current AI, now I'm using the term artificial intelligence, can never become what you just described, Scott. Augmented insight, in contrast, has an opportunity to do that because we have the ability where we have creative human beings who are interacting with large data set, LLM models and otherwise, who have the ability to feed information back in and now not have mean reversion, not have the thing collapse to the center, but have the ideas expand to the lateral edges, right? When we do that, we start creating a system that can recognize and appreciate value. It can recognize and appreciate things like efficiency or new opportunities or creative expression that we didn't otherwise see. And so it's really important. And this is where a lot of the alt media and the kind of the broader media conversations are kind of missing the point. They're doing this binary good, bad AI story. But what they're missing is the model itself, misapplied, is going to get us to a generic, controlled, socialist, monatomic system, which actually will have a single point command and control, which largely will be artificial in its essential nature, as opposed to a system that diversifies, democratizes the value assessment, meaning that what you value and what I value may not be the same, but in our conversation, we can actually build broader understanding. We can actually build a broader appreciation. We can think of this the way we would think of artwork, right? What is a piece of art worth? Well, the fact of the matter is that's in the eye of the beholder. That is what value is. Value will always be that. And so we can't sit here and capriciously say, well, an ounce of gold is worth X and a cup of water is worth Y. Why can't we do that? Because we're not putting the context in place. And what real augmented insight will do is it will allow us to land information in context. And in context, we will then define what value is. Because a glass of water, if you've been 3 days without water in the Gobi Desert, is worth more than an ounce of gold.
Very
So
good.
the key word is context. It sounds like that.
That's exactly right.
Word is
that
context.
is exactly right. And that is what the last 500 years, listen carefully, the last 500 years has been to try to erase context where fiat, where control systems, whether they be the church or the crown or anybody else, tells you what you should value.
Yes. Yeah.
That system is what's dying. And I say, God bless it. Celebrate the death of it. This is the most joyous moment that a human being should be living in because we are living at the end of a tyrannical system that deprived us of our humanity. So let it die.
Well, there you have it. I don't think we could have spanned the generations with two more incredible voices than G. Edward Griffin and Dr. David Martin. Scott, bring Scott in here, would you please, Christy? Thank you. There, beautiful. You're with us. Unmute your mic, Scott. Your thoughts on that? I mean, I just got to tell the audience that the long form interview with Griffin is over an hour long, and the long form with David is just over an hour long that Scott and I did a couple of days ago. So those will be released under separate cover, but incredible wisdom flame. Scott, you raised at the end of that the matter of context, like how do we establish the value of things in this war economy, in this blood economy, in the scarcity economics veil of tears. And you stopped him at that word context, because he'd made an incredibly important point that I think is lost to most of us, that government and the church and the state were never separated. That was a psyop. But the point being, control over how we view what is valuable and what is not in life seems to be where the modern economics fiat economy came in. Just your reflections on the incredible conversations with David Martin and G. Griffin in context of today and the flailing global economy.
Yeah, I think the overriding message here for everybody is that the entire system, as corrupt as it is, I think you mentioned the right word is valuation. How do you come up with the valuation of anything, any type of whatever it be would be considered an asset? We talk about the marketplace, capitalism. What will the market bear for a certain commodity or whatever it is? And again, these are driven by a lot of speculative things, dynamics in any economic situation. But it doesn't mean it's an actual fair value. It happens to be driven by a variety of circumstances. In a market, real estate, you could get top dollar for a piece of land that couldn't get anything like a year before that. There's this always fluctuating value. There's got to be some way with all the resources that are on the planet, whether it's intellectual, whether it's hard assets or real property, there's got to be a valuation characteristics that makes sense to everybody. So you're not floating out at sea wondering where that boat's going to land and at the right time you need it to land. So whatever systems are replacing that, my opinion is, based on all the things that we've learned about how they've engineered this thing to always be a debt system, to create value for them when they want to capitalize on it and reduce the value of anything that we, the people, the non-controlling entity, have reduced that value, and we want to cash it in or leverage it. It's always been stacked against us. So these things, these dynamics that they're drawing here, hopefully the audience is understanding. You've been robbed in every way, shape, and form possible. The new system's going to come online are going to be rooted in a, I don't know, you would call it a fair system, but it's going to be, in my opinion, a settlement capacity that's in line with creator, with natural law, and with reality, not the false reality that they projected us to believe, but the reality of all things. It's going to be interesting to see how this plays out on a grand scale with the New Earth Exchange model that's about ready to deploy. What a fascinating invention, if you will, constructing something like this where the average person can now participate in these massive profits at the banks, these obscene profits that they can derive for themselves, now going to be shared across the entire spectrum of humanity. There's a pretty exciting evolution happening. And I think when they can assimilate it and understand it, they're going to be like, you got to be kidding me.
Right.
So this is how it can be. Yeah, that's how it's going to be.
Indeed. Well, thanks, Scott. And you were, I think we popped your cherry only yesterday. I think we brought you in to meet the Fuller team who've developed the exchange. And I think you, at the end of it, you just kept, just got like, oh my God, just got better and better. But we're drilling into that for the next hour. We've got our African team, absolute legends, who've stayed up really late to be on this live broadcast. Friends in America, friends in Europe and the rest of the world. Look to Africa and my brothers and sisters in Africa. I've been saying it for the last 2 years. Africa is the cornerstone of the emergent global economy. I know that that's true, not just because I'm a white African, but because of the great big moves that are taking place as Africa staggers to its feet and shakes off the yoke of imperialism and colonialism, which of course we're doing the same in Middle America and in Mexico and all around the world. We're about to throw off the chains of that same colonialism, because the colonists were the goddamn priest bankers. Those were the colonists. They controlled, their proxies were the parliamentarians and the heads of state and so on and so forth. But let's not get into that right now. I want to bring on Marsha from the New Earth Coalition, and also Ethan Lucas. Marsha and Willardson, you are so very welcome. Marsha, you've done it again.
Thank you, Sacha. Thank you. It's good to be here.
Very happy.
It's always a pleasure, and I always learn something.
Indeed. So, Ethan, good to see you too there, brother.
Thanks, brother.
Very good. Marsha, your thoughts on the conversation thus far in the last hour, emphasis what G. Edward Griffin and Dave Martin were bringing to the equation.
Well, the conversation, yes, brings us into our own thinking in the context of what we've been living in all this time, and the nuances of the strength, the power in our thinking and what we can bring forward as we're creating the new earth, as we're creating the new conceptualization of our own strength and our own relationship with what we see out in the world. It's always a pleasure to listen at another level to what we think we know in order for us to come into communication with one another at a whole new frequency.
Beautiful. Ethan, 60 seconds or less, sovereignty, economics, status quo, right here, right now. What is the shift point that the New Earth Exchange is bringing on represent to humanity?
Well, I would say, first of all, the nation state was built for a world where people couldn't easily move, and they're still trying to do it. And that's why you see a lot of chaos around passports and airports, borders, and whatnot. But that world is collapsing. It's gone. Jurisdictions collapsing because locations becoming irrelevant. And we're not escaping those systems with this. We're actually outgrowing them. A lot of people think that we're trying to gerrymander things and fix things and just move away from the officials. We're not. It's actually collapsing under its own weight, like you said, Sacha. And the future isn't collective control like they've been doing. It's coordinated sovereignty. We're not rebelling. We're actually evolving.
Very good. Very good. Okay, Scott, I just want you to comment on anything you want to speak to right at the end of this little segment, because we're about to go into the technical side of things. But again, your reflections, Scott, on where this pivot point that you've just spoken to earlier and that we've been learning of through the voices of the Martins of this world and the Griffins of this world, who've been instructing us for generations. And we've arrived now at the 0 point. We all know that this is the pivot. It's all about which side of the indivisible line you choose to place your attention or indeed invest your gold. So your takeaway on this historic pivot point.
The historic pivot point is that where people that have anything of value, any assets, to me, what was amazing, what I learned yesterday, assets that you have in your possession could be, as banks do, leveraged in this new economic system that we're discussing, in particular, New Earth Exchange. I was blown away by the obscene amount of profits as it was explained to me when somebody takes your money, puts it into a bank, the banks leverage it, the fractional reserve system loans out 10 times that amount of money. But the gravity of the profits through these crazy amounts of interest, how that whole, I never understood that till yesterday, but
right.
How much absolute wealth that they're creating off the backs of the people's money or the backs of the people's assets, land, title, you name it, is staggering. That's where these hundreds of trillions of dollars come from, but they're building all this infrastructure on planet, off planet, in the ground. The money is beyond comprehension. Now, that reminded me of the Q drop that said, the most powerful economic force the world has ever known is the U.S. taxpayer. And they have to be reflecting on this same system. And I'm thinking, so this is the amount of percentage that I'm making on a particular asset that I have, or I could make, or they're making if I leverage against it, is a certain percentage, let's say 10%. But yet on my same asset, they're making, that's a year. On my same asset with the mechanics of everything they built, they're making 20 to 30% a month. On my,
when you say they, you're talking about the New Earth Exchange.
The criminal empire.
Oh, the criminals, right.
The criminal empire, what they're making on our assets and our production, I can't even comprehend it. What I can comprehend is we're going to work through the New Earth Exchange now. those obscene profits are no longer obscene. They're solid profits. But the amount that we, the people, can generate, not going to the banks, but us, is obscene at our level. I mean, for what we've always been used to, is you put something in a bank account, you get 2% interest on your savings account, which is absurd. It's nothing compared to what is available in the whole system of leveraging money and assets. In the New Earth Exchange, it's bringing all that home to the people, and there's going to be real wealth created by people who participate in the ways that we'll discuss here once you share how this works with everybody. I got to get a bigger handle on it myself. We went over it last night, but it take me a minute or two to rerun that so I can get a deeper understanding. But the possibilities are just unbelievable.
Great. Well, we'll do that right now. So, Marcia, yes, speak to that.
Yes, I'd like to point to one key distinction here, that we're talking about the difference between the measure and the value. The measure is what we're talking about, and all of but the value really is what we give it. What is our interpretation? What is the value? And the distinction is very important, because we talk about everything outside of ourselves as having the value of the currency and the value of the exchange. But the truth is, our energy is the value. That is the measure.
Very good. And bringing us to the rudiment of the New Earth economy, we've been saying for the last few years, is jurisdiction, technology, and fellowship. Fellowship is all. Okay, let me just intro this next section, the architecture of the NXC and the New Earth Exchange. So what we're exploring here, friends of the world, is a platform built with intention, structured around governance, accountability, and long-term stewardship. In simple thrift, what it does is exactly what Scott alluded to. We are turning the existing system on its head, legally and lawfully. Well, bearing in mind that the entirety of the status quo operates in illicit illegality and lawlessness in any event. But the fact of the matter is, we have tipped the system upside down. What would naturally flow to black nobility or any number of the troglodytes in the system in Switzerland and Geneva and Tel Aviv and elsewhere will be going, essentially filtering into the pockets of people within the constituency of the New Earth Coalition. That is you, friends. That is me. We are the meek who now inherit the earth. I want to cue the media here, Christy, and then I'm going to bring the African team and the exchange team on.
Finance is evolving. One unified engine. Protected identity. Seamless access. Disciplined creation. Structured supply. One currency. Infinite utility. Trade assets. Own digital value. Earn continuously. Liquidity buffers. Stability mechanisms. Engineered resilience. Bridging traditional finance with digital power. Participation rewarded. Ownership verified. New Earth Exchange, where everything connects.
it begins with you. A single participant entering the New Earth ecosystem, your assets secured in the Ghost Wallet, held safely offline. From there, value moves into the New Earth Exchange, the heart of a regenerative financial system designed to work differently. Your funds convert into NXE tokens, and with them, you gain access to something real. Ethical mining, sustainable agriculture, land development. Tangible projects, tokenized for collective ownership. A share of every transaction flows into the New Earth Treasury, strengthening the foundation, while the New Earth Bank provides the liquidity and infrastructure that keeps everything moving. And here's what makes this different. Value doesn't leave, it returns. As projects develop, they create real assets, and the entire ecosystem grows. This is New Earth Exchange, a closed-loop economy where your participation doesn't just matter, it builds something real.
Very good. Well, what you were looking at there, friends, was a really a high level view of the structure. I'm going to bring on, forgive me, friends, if I pop you in the back for 1 second or to the side. Let me just minimize or maximize myself there. 1 moment. I want to bring on core architect of the New Earth Exchange. Many of you within our ecosystem obviously know this man. He has worked tirelessly for years on this. This is a convergence point, I have to say. This New Earth Exchange and the Treasury and the bank and everything that goes away, everything that we're now issuing to the world through the New Earth parallel financial system is really the life's ambition and dreaming of a group of very, very godly individuals. And I'm going to bring a few of them on today, principally from the African team. Gideon, thank you for staying up so late, and what to say, brother, but the work that you've been doing for years and years, eventuating into this, our joint vision and mission. I'll say to the world, you did shed a tear a couple of days ago when we realized that we'd finally locked and loaded the whole system, but we did shed some tears, did we not?
Yes, no, definitely, Sacha, thank you. This has been the whole life's work to look at over the past 9 years to the processes and methods of how we can get something like this up and running. And to actually see this now fully functional, that you can now invest and have the sovereignty of people working together in the central space of building the new Earth was just overwhelming, and it still is. Where I'm sitting here today, it's just the power of everything that we've developed just takes over, and you just want to just go and yell it off the rooftops. So yeah, thank you for that intro, and it's the team behind us. Oh my goodness, the team is absolutely amazing.
That's a fact, and we got some of them here today joining us. Others couldn't be here today, but time differences and what have you. But I do want to bring anyway some of the other crew in just to say a quick hello before we then. First off, let me just say Johan Swanepoel. We call him Joe internally, and that's because 300 members of his team, technical team, are all called Johan. So we have to now create a discrepancy. Joe, brother, thank you for staying up, not just late tonight, but every night for the last few weeks. I mean, you're an absolute legend. We're so excited about what we're bringing to the world. I know for you as well, this is also the culmination for you and your team of dreaming through the galactic sleep cycle through which we're now emerging. How do you feel about things today?
Well, Sacha, thank you for bringing us up in there tonight. No, definitely, it was a journey the last few days, especially. But I'm excited. I'm excited to bring this to the world. I'm excited to actually be able to showcase what we've got and what we were able to brought forward in a new Earth exchange system. So
very, very good. And just I don't want to embarrass you because you're more in the back room there, but Johan Chomsey, you can put your hand up, your left hand up. We'll be able to see you. Good to see you there, brother. Thank you. Okay. I also want to bring on our African director, who is somewhere, I think, in the fringes of Lusaka, Zambia. Anton, how are you doing, brother?
Hi, Sacha. I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me. Very exciting times indeed. I've listened and I'm still overwhelmed. I didn't realize 2 years ago when we met, we will get arriving at this point so soon, actually. But well done.
But thank you, Anton. And really, it's, by the grace of God and, how we met and the journey that we've been on for the last couple of years has been extraordinary. You're in the heart of Africa. You're driving forward a number of our big projects out there. You're also driving, along with Eric, the New Earth commodities piece. We're not going to go into all of that today particularly, but I don't envy you the role that you fulfill for the New Earth team, because Africa is huge and things are expanding and rolling at quantum speed, with our industrial hemp initiatives and the jurisdictional land initiatives and what have you. Where are you getting sleep these days?
Sorry, when do I get sleep?
Yeah, when do you get to sleep?
Yeah, no. I mean, I should ask the same to you, because if I look at our time differences and how we communicate, there is basically no sleep. It's in between. We take that cat naps and that's it.
Right.
But there's so much to do, so little time.
Indeed. Well, I'm an AI augmented CGI phenomenon, so I don't actually even exist. The world is going to find that out soon. Anyway, let's get on to Kennedy. Also, I want to thank Kennedy for staying up so late tonight. And I need to just give a little background here. One of the most powerful investment advisors and bankers in 35 plus years of banking experience across digital, corporate banking, risk and trade finance. Former senior vice president of Citibank and managing director at Standard Chartered Ventures Africa. He now advises on energy and agricultural platforms, overseeing risk, compliance, and transactions for the New Earth Exchange across Africa, and he is a member of our Treasury Board. Kennedy, you are so very welcome, sir. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much, Sacha. It's been a hectic 2 weeks. I've been drinking from a hosepipe, from a fire hose for the last few days, just trying to catch up with all you smart guys. I didn't know I could run so fast, but I think I've managed to keep up. I'm so happy to be part of this journey to democratize intermediation and really find value at its point of use. And I think most of my life I've been looking at how to make finances fair and just. And that aligns very, very perfectly with your vision here. And I'm very much happy to be part of this team and to see how we can make it happen and really recognize value in Africa and be able to drive capital in a manner that the investors can actually realize it, without it being disintermediated by other parties.
Indeed. Well, thank you so very much, Kennedy. And I think now we're going to kick straight off. Let me just have a quick glance in the back room to see if I've missed anything or anyone. No, we're good. I haven't committed any crimes. But right now, I'm going to bring Gideon to the fore, and Gideon is going to walk through the NewEarthExchange.com, NewEarthX.com, forgive me, website, which is the interface for you, the world, and the economy that we've created. I also invite technical crew, Joe and Johan, to speak over Gideon anytime. Keep your mics unlocked, no problem. And Scott, along the way, if there's anything particular, you're as a senior lead affiliate coming into the exchange, anything that you also wanted to stop the guys at, feel free to do so. Gideon, I'm going to give you the floor now, brother. If I can see you there we are. I'm going to give you the floor.
Thank you, Sacha. So with the New Earth Exchange, the entire sovereignty that we looked at was the process how banking systems take our assets and move it onto trade and make so much money from it, but they don't put it back into the communities. They don't assist anymore. And that's one of the problems that we did find was that one of the things that we worked through with Scott McKay last night was the process how finances actually comes in. You go to a bank, you do a debt lending from the bank, and for example, you take $2.5 million and you lend that from the bank, and you have to pay that back over a 30-year time period, for example. Now, that 30-year time period, you are paying back in your annual repayments, you're paying back about $8.5 million. But now, every year, they were actually able to take that money that you've invested and then take it and rent or give it to somebody else on a debt lending process. So they are actually making money from the money that you are repaying back onto your bond. So, what we've developed now is the same principle, but we are working for the people, taking their assets and creating wealth on top of their assets. So we're not taking it out of their asset, we're adding it into the asset. So instead of lending it to somebody else, we are building the community's asset, and that's the New Earth Exchange. So when you're looking at the New Earth Exchange homepage, it's just information about the New Earth Exchange, what the platform is about, the phase development that we've done. So you can just go through the platform and read the governance and responsibilities. So we've really gone into the depth of the differences between sovereignty, between the collection of soul and having all of those registrations and everything in place to ensure that although we are creating something for the people, that we also do not get the banks knocking on our doors going, hey, you are doing something not right. But then moving onwards to the actual project page, this is where investment funding takes place. The first section is the funding phase. During this, there's tokens that is issued to the market based on the actual value of the commodity or the asset. And the second phase is the actual development of it. So the second phase can also include the acquisition of something, the transition of something onto the platform. It doesn't just have to be new developments, greenfields. This includes going concerns. This includes assets where there's currently farmers that's working on that farm, and that crops and agri can be sold onto the markets, and those returns goes back into that asset to build up the value of that asset. So currently there are quite a few projects being listed on this exchange with the values then issued onto it. The tokens is issued through Ethereum, so it's all smart contract based. Everything, there's already purchases taking place. Everything is smart contract and digital currency backed, also built on blockchain methodology. I don't know if you want to add anything there, Yuan.
Yeah, Joe, you might want to. You can unmute and comment if you wish to.
No, he's actually doing very good so far. Yes, so basically, its projects is getting tokenized, and from the tokenization, obviously, they do the New Earth Exchange then can do the asset backing on that.
And the purchases are direct through any fiat currencies. It's directly through crypto. You can use your crypto to invest. That entire process has already been added onto the system, and we will move on to that Ghost Wallet sections now in a bit. We also work on philanthropy, where we're focusing on the development of rural communities, taking education, electricity, food security, and ensuring that people that don't have access to any technology or clean water or anything like that, that we want to take that to the people as well. So anything that we do, we always include communities and taking communities further as well. And this is not just in Africa, this is anywhere in the world. Then the next section is the NXE coin. Now, the NXE coin is a crypto coin which within the infrastructure and the environment of the New Earth exchange, you can use your coin at any point. You can have that Visa transferred, have that directly into fiat, and you can transact anywhere in any of the jurisdictions where the New Earth is working in. You can go into holiday resorts and you can actually use it there with discounts and rewards. And we are building all of that in with that coin, but that's already been registered and everything is live at the moment with the coin as well. Then our Ghost wallet.
Can we just stop there a moment, but go back to the coin just for a moment? I want to emphasize this point here, Gideon, because it's the perfect time for us to do it. When we look at every other medium of exchange, other than a tangible, something with an intrinsic value, as Dr. David Martin was saying earlier, everything's a promise. Everything's a promise to pay. But the fact of the matter is we have to look at what is behind even that promise to pay. So that US dollar bill or that Bitcoin or whatever it is, what is it backed by? What are currencies backed by? They're backed by scarcity. In the case of Bitcoin, that's all it's backed by is absolute scarcity. And frankly, a somewhat perverse notion as well, given that it's that very idea of scarcity that is the rudiment of the source code of the kingdom of the devil, of a war, disease, and poverty-based economy. So we need to start to see that in the light of pure truth and then take our attention away from it. So Bitcoin and many of these crypto tokens are backed up by ideas, very little else, or backed by war, or backed by blood, or backed by scarcity. Whereas the New Earth coin, the NXE, is now backed by what we've been speaking up for the last few years, technology, fellowship, real world assets, jurisdiction, real developments, real stuff. A very, very important distinction for everyone to understand.
Thank you, Sacha. Yeah, I'd totally forgot about adding that. It's a very important part of this, is that our coin is not a volatile coin. Everything value-based on our NXE coin is backed by real-world assets. So there's nothing where the base value can suddenly drop 40, 60, 70%. There's a constant base value. The assets within the system has got a certain value, and that's something we also discussed previously with Dr. Martin, where what does the value actually mean? Where does the value actually come from? In the current days, value is just described as the amount of oil I've got, the amount of notes I've printed, and overprinting and evaluating the actual commodity value. Ours is backed by actual value of assets, actual value of commodities. It cannot just suddenly change overnight. The infrastructure's growth on an asset increases the value of the coin. So when you start off by the purchasing of the coin at a certain value and the assets are getting added onto it, it follows the asset values. And then as the asset grows in, for example, we've got a rental house, for example, and that rental house has got people renting from it. That finances isn't going anywhere else but into that asset. So the value of that asset grows, and therefore the coin grows in value as well.
Very good, very good. You want to continue with the website?
Yes. So the Ghost wallet is a lot of discussions and videos that was shown earlier. The Ghost wallet is a wallet in your pocket. That's where you can move your crypto onto the wallet. You can take it anywhere you want to and actually have that directly linked with your Visa. Your Visa card can then be swiped anywhere in the world, wherever Visa is then accepted. Everything can be purchased directly from the website, and we also have an affiliate program working with it. So if you bring people to purchase the dongle, we give money back, because that's what we are all about. We're giving back. So Also on the wallet, I think Joe can really go deep into that.
Yeah.
Explain really how the wallet works, and yeah.
And can I ask Joe also to emphasize the fact, this to me is a very important piece, because earlier on I was saying that we're tipping the existing system upside down, and what would normally go to fat cats in Geneva and Tel Aviv and Basel, Switzerland, Rome and London, those revenues are going to be redistributed amongst our constituents, essentially through the bank fees going to us and our people. So as why do you think I want Scott McKay and all of our buddies to be part of this? Because the stronger we make this, the bigger the army, the more consolidated our mutual treasury becomes, the more solid our economy. It's already solid because we're backed by real world assets already. And correct me if I'm wrong, Gideon, we have billions of dollars worth of real world assets being listed on the exchange right now. People can go and see them later today. And I heard the figure yesterday, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we're approaching $300 billion worth of real world assets that are being lined up and in the queue to be listed on the exchange. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. That is only from the southern part of Africa that the projects are available and that we are doing full due diligences on. We're not just loading any project onto the platform. We are doing full due diligences of each and every asset so that we don't have any fraudulent things that happens or projects being loaded that's overvalued and undercertified. We go through each and every step to ensure that the assets that's listed is true to their values.
Very good, thanks. Joe Swanee, forgive me for interrupting. I just wanted to underscore that point. You got the floor.
No problem. Right, so quick and simple. So the Ghost Wallet is basically been designed on a NewEarth exchange to bring in privacy and control. It's a multi-layered security decentralized wallet. So you as the owner are fully in control of your keys, any private information on it. So there's no database connected to it. There's no server connected to it. So it's completely offline. It generates your addresses offline. So that basically just puts you as the user in full control and take back what is yours. To give you a simple example, if I need to pay Sacha, for example, you in on the other side of the world, I can do it in 2 seconds, in a few minutes, without funds getting frozen, without anything getting touched or controlled. So that's a unique point about this wallet. And there's a lot of other features involved. I mean, it brings you directly to the NewEarth exchange as well. And then obviously there's a swapping features in it already. The whole exchange is basically being built on it. So you can swap your assets, crypto assets, for enormously low fees, which is a bonus that we obviously have brought into this wallet as well. It's got a biometric system in for Windows users that uses a fingerprint. This is the first layer of security. And then there's also a facial recognition system also attached to Windows and Mac, which becomes basically your serial. So your face is the serial of your wallet, which is also included in your backup system file. So nobody can actually hack this thing. We've tested it. We made it so secure that we actually put a backup on social media with funds in that wallet and challenged people to get it, go and grab it. And unfortunately, the money is still in the wallet. So that proves it. But yeah, that brings you back in control. It brings us as people back in control of our funds.
Beautiful
because
stuff.
I mean, your money is your money. It doesn't belong to the bank.
Right. And so again, what we're doing here is not illegal. It is perfectly legal, and it's perfectly judicious and righteous. It's exactly what we should be doing if we're serious about the business of the Epstein files and about the corrupt Clintons and about all the butchery of history. If we're serious about those goddamn conversations we keep circle jerking around at the breakfast table and at the dinner table, then we need to act. And act is to reclaim your capacity today, right here, right now, to be able to transact, absent surveillance by Big Brother, by the goddamn government, or by the goddamn big banks. Correct? Scott, your thoughts on this piece?
Yeah, 100%. I think the more people see a more, I say, elementary presentation of how this Ghost Wallet works, it'll make sense. I walked through it last night. So I had the luxury to stop, ask questions, kind of project how I was seeing this myself to get a better understanding of it. And if I may, I'm not sure if I'm speaking a little bit out of school here, but one of the things I was talking about was, a lot of us got into the silver market years ago when we brought Kirk Elliott in, and we had a lot of Patriot Street Fighters in that world who bought silver, and their silver sitting in a depository. And I found out recently you're able to leverage your silver like as an asset sitting there if you wanted to borrow against it for whatever reason. And I found out that's true. But then again, you're talking about a line of credit you can take on your silver sitting in a vault. There's companies that actually do that and that are connected right to your vault. So anyways, I was talking about one of the propositions was you can take a line of credit against this amount of silver, and the interest rate's like 9.25%. When it was explained to me how much more money is made off of any assets that we have that basically are registered on the bank's portfolios or whatever, there's a staggering amount of money that's made on. And what blew me away was, well, yeah, you can actually list whatever amount of silver you want on the New Earth Exchange. There, it's sitting there as an asset. The same type of leveraging banks do with your asset. You yourself are the ones that make all this, let's call it ghost money, as they're loaning out more and more and more of the value of your silver and bringing in extraordinary amount of profits and interest. And one of the questions that I asked last night, I said, well, in this case, in this particular example, if I wanted to retire this line of credit, boom, through the New Earth Exchange, bring it over, its valuation is here, you can borrow against that at a tiny interest rate. And because of the leverage on that, make 20 to 30% per month on the value of your asset. I said 20 to 30%. They're over here on level one, making 9.25% interest on my asset by I'm borrowing money against it to do something. So I'm saying they're making 9.25%. No, they showed me how they're making extraordinary amounts more than that. But me, myself, with the New Earth Exchange, with my asset that I own, putting it in there, can make 20 to 30% per month interest on the value through the New Earth Exchange and all these projects. I said, you mean a year? I said, no, per month. I was like, do you realize how much money that is? And the answer is, in paraphrasing, that's how much money these guys are making off of your real world assets, these criminal central banks. I was blown away. I was blown away by that. My God. That's why the wealth of the planet is so staggering that they hold, because of these systems that they built. And like you said, it's us taking control of that now.
Right.
Although there's illegitimate, these are legitimate.
That's where your rocket's worth $50 million a pop, and your bomber's worth $2.3 billion a pop. Those insane numbers come from. Mm-hmm. That's where all these big budgets emerge from, the fleecing. But yeah, Gideon, anything you want to add to that?
No, that's beautifully said. Thank you, Scott. You really listen into quite in depth to everything that is said. And yes, the central banks that's why they lend you money to buy an asset, but they hold 100% of that asset. So in the banking system, they can then go and leverage on the back of that by lending debt to other people or other countries, or wars or things like that. That's where they get these excessive interest on that debt that they are lending to all of these other institutions or governments or wars. Mm-hmm. And we've looked at that and said, but that's not the right way to do this. We're supposed to have our assets put on the trade if that's the case. Why is our assets not sitting there? Why are we not getting that big returns? Rather than just putting a certain percentage on a global market, we want to open it up. We want to say, you are the owner of this asset. We take your asset, we tokenize your asset, and we build onto your asset. First point. Second point, we as people also need to have access to this market. So we take the assets, and through our banking partners also put this on trade. So you're not actually giving up your asset. You're holding your asset within the system. It's your asset. We are tokenizing it. And we're putting your token, like any form of dollar, pound, anything like that. And we're taking that asset tokenized value and we're putting that on trade. And that then it gives you additional funds into your asset. And that's how we're looking at it and playing that open book, saying we're not hiding this. We're not going to go and build bombs in this. We are making people the owners of their assets and building the people to have a say to what their assets are.
Right.
And that's how we build up communities, and that's how we build up our livelihood, not to be pressured by interest rates and inflation.
Very good. So that's what brings us here, and that's the importance of the Ghost Wallet. That's the importance of today. And again, I'm hustling you right now, people. Go and order your Ghost Wallet. That's step number one. It'll be sent to you within X days. Joe, speak to that if you will. Within a week, 2 weeks, you expect we can deliver them through fulfillment?
Yes, anything between 7 to 14 days internationally worldwide. And there's also a USDT-backed virtual card that comes with it. So that allows you to spend the crypto that you have in there anywhere in the world for holidays, fuel, groceries, whatever it is, at any given time from the crypto wallet. So
very good. Okay. And tutorials and what have you, and the 1,001 questions that would be raised by our constituents, by customers. We have a fully articulated web backend. Speak a bit to that.
Yes. So on the NewEarthX exchange, the NewEarth exchange, there is a complete AI support as well that can answer all your immediate questions. If you do have anything else, obviously you can contact support. We will be there to assist 24/7 in any queries.
Okay, very good. So Gideon, did you want to touch on anything else on the website, or has that come down?
And that's it. Thank you.
Was that it? Very good. Okay, so I think Eric Schwing has joined us momentarily. Are you there, Eric? From Kampala in Africa. I saw him pop into the green room, and he's heading up New Earth Commodities with Anton. Okay, no, he's popped out again. I think we've lost signal there. In any event, let me just refer to my notes here. Kennedy, forgive me, not Kennedy, Joe and Gideon, anything else that we need to touch on here as you see it? And Marsha and Scott, from your perspective, is there anything we're missing here? Ethan, I'm going to bring you in as well in the event that you also may have a question to raise with the team.
I think the only point that we need to still raise is we will put a link that will have any affiliates joining up, and that link will be then shared within. If you want to share it with 10 people, you know that you will get returns on the wallet as well, and then a Visa account number. That account number will be linked to your wallet. And that is all set up by you. We don't have any access to it at all. There's zero access from our side. So even we cannot see what you are doing on your wallet at all. So that's a very important thing.
Just to clarify that as well, this is also one of the first wallets that you actually receive without any seed phrase or any wallet on it. It's basically a software back. So you generate your wallet yourself. So from the moment you get it, you are in charge. And Sash, we did forget one thing to mention. There's also a banking system launching soon on the NewEarth exchange, which is currently in progress, being built and completed, and compliances are being done. So that will also be live very soon. There is a part on it on the bank. You can, if you have any interest in that, you can go and read the costs and of the bank and how the system will work. At the bottom of the page, you can actually then just click on the I'm interested, just to let us know that you are to be contacted when it is live.
Very good. Great. Also, I'll just let Eric come in and say very quickly, he's popped back in. Eric heads up New Earth Commodities with Anton Boats in Africa. All of our activities and commodities are focused right now in Africa. Don't need to explain to anyone here why. Like I've said in every broadcast, just ask Xi Jinping, Putin, or Trump why Africa is of such supreme interest. In any event, that is why New Earth Commodities is anchored there. I know you can't tell us too much about what we're up to out there, Eric. It's big stuff. It's volatile. It's very
it is. I'm very excited. Let's say this way. It's as this is recorded. We just tonight partnered with one of the biggest kingdom in Africa, strategically placed. We're going to make a bullion bank. We're probably going to open our own refinery in 2 months, where you're all welcome. It's it's asset backed, of course. We have the credit cards. Gideon, we have to talk about this. This is all new. I've just literally said goodbye to the king in waiting, His Royal Highness, and this is going to be good. Yeah, that's all I can say right now. This is going to be recorded, so I can't say more right now.
It's not going to be recorded. It's actually live, baby. But you didn't say anything. Don't worry. It's okay. I was watching your language. I had my finger on the pause button. So here, just to underscore what it is that Eric's just said and why New Earth Commodities is focused in the so-called developing world. Which is to say the rich world. I refer, of course, to King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba back in the day, friends. Point being this, that the relationships that we've been forging with hereditary leaders all around the world, and those of you who know New Earth know that for many, many long years we've done this. We've been forging those relationships in honor, in earnest, and in grace with the paramount chiefs, the kings, the queens, the sultans, and so on in these vast nations around the world. Those relationships are what matter today. As the old Babylonian tower with its redundant contracts and treaties, all of which have been abrogated and derogated and defiled and desecrated by the status quo, by the imperialist forces and the globalist forces, all of the indigenous leadership of the world, the real indigenous leadership, are standing up, as I said a while ago, and throwing off the yoke. That means they're looking for new relationships, new conduits, and that's exactly where the New Earth Exchange steps in, and that's where our team are on the ground, literally in the field, forging these relations. Thank you, Eric, for that fantastic storyline. As the weeks roll on, we're going to be coming in with New Earth Exchange broadcasts. We'll probably fix a format of a report every 2 weeks and every month a summit event where we actually come in and let everyone know how we're growing the value of this extraordinary paradigm shifting economy that we've created. Let me leave it at that. Gideon, I'm going to give you the floor again, you and Joe, to continue, just finish on any technicalities.
Okay, perfect. Just a quick question, Sacha. Johan has the wallet open on his side, so you can actually share and walk through what the wallet looks like, so that everybody can also just be introduced to the wallet the way that Scott was, and actually understand the depth and the design the wonderfulness that was done through all the Joe hands.
Yeah. Very good. Okay, so Joe, take it away if you're sharing your screen.
It's going to be Johnny. Mr.
Oh, Johnny, gotcha.
Johan Komsa.
You got it. Okay.
All right, I'm going to leave it up to him to do a run through on the wallet quickly so I can explain to you guys exactly how it works now with the facial recognition. There we go.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for having me. So I'm just going to switch off my camera here because it's conflicting with my facial recognition when I try to log in. I'm just going to do share screen. Let me just have a look.
Christy, can you bring that in, his screen?
Our studio is full, so...
Well, then eject someone from the studio, please.
Okay.
All right, can you guys see the screen?
One moment, Johan.
No problem.
Okay, I believe your screen has just come in here. Off you go.
All right, perfect. So as soon as you receive your wallet from your order, it just it gets shipped to you. You receive your wallet. This is the application that you'll open up. It's the NE Ghost Wallet. The prompt will be where you create a password. So you enter a password which you like. I'm just entering my password, and then it's going to obviously confirm another 5-digit password where you input that. It's just security. Then here you'll see it's got questions. So most of the wallets that you obviously get don't have questions, or so here you can input custom questions. So for demo purposes, I'm going to do just one for each one, so everyone can see. There is no limitations to questions that you want to put in. So then here you've got a 2-factor authentication as well. I just want to get that 2-factor set up quickly. So you go and you get your 2-factor that you can set up, and then once you have that, yes, you can ask because of the camera that I'm streaming. Let me just check here. It is turned off here. So there is a Face ID. Let me just quickly have a look. Just give me a sec. I just couldn't sort out my camera. I tested it this afternoon.
Okay, no worries.
It's because you had your camera on now at the same time. So.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah.
So it's because it's already in access on the stream. So I can do this.
Additional securities just to make sure that nobody can actually stream or see you doing all of those things and actually record you while you're doing it. So that's just all built in additional securities that just makes it so much better.
Yeah. So what I can do is this. So what I can do is I can quickly do the setup and then just pull back in if that's fine.
Yeah, sure.
All right. I'm just quickly gonna hop off and then I'll just pull back in as soon as the ID verification is.
Okay, no worries. Ethan, in the meantime, thoughts, comments, concerns, questions?
I just actually wanted to point everyone to something that a lot of people probably aren't aware of. One of the most important books I ever read that started my journey happened for me in the late 90s. And I'm telling you, this is a prophetic book. It's called The Sovereign Individual, written by James Dale Davidson and William Rees Mogg. And in short, that book 30 years ago pointed people to a world we're looking at now and what we're doing now that they actually called internet currency is now being called crypto. And it was a world where individuals would no longer ask for permission to exist within systems. And that is exactly what we're building here. This is why I'm so excited about it, because I literally started my journey in the prophecy to this whole thing 30 years ago, reading about it in that book, The Sovereign Individual, an infrastructure that actually functions the way they described it, which is extremely exciting. But I want to say one other thing too, because I think a lot of people in our audience and the people that follow a lot of the influencers here, like Scott McKay, Dr. David Martin, G. Edward Griffin, they've been looking for what we call a group of white hats to work to fix a broken system. And I think that's actually inaccurate. And what people would call the white hats working in the background to help humanity wasn't actually to rebuild a new government controlled system for us to plug back into to be governed by a whole new system of control again. That's really no different than the old one. And I think that a lot of people have had that in their mind. What the white hats, as you would call them, have been doing is creating the pathways and laying the groundwork for leaders in the sovereign communities like Sacha Stone to build the private sovereign systems that will actually replace government and institutional control structures so that the people can actually be free again, be truly sovereign and self-govern.
Very good. Beautiful. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Well stated.
Brilliant.
Are you guys back on track? Yes, Marsha, I'll defer to you in a second. Just want to check if we're back on track, because I'm also mindful of the fact that Laura Eisenhower and George H. Lewis are in the green room, and I'm going to need to bring them in and finish this particular segment. So just the Ghost Wallet piece, because that is the key campaign we're kicking off right now today, is the Ghost Wallet, the New Earth Ghost Wallet. That's step number one. So Gideon, Joe, again, and Johnny, take it away and just direct me. What do you need to see? Joe, okay,
yes.
You'll have to unmute. Carry on.
Yeah. So as you can see, I've already set up my Face ID, hence obviously the camera confliction. So as soon as you're done, it says your Face ID has been registered. You can continue. It just tells you that everything you have been set up obviously Face ID 2FA, and then on login, each time when you log in, you've got an option where you can either log in with 2FA or Face ID. The thing is, the Face ID is a bit more for users if they lose maybe their mobile phone or it gets stolen, the mobile phone. So the whole issue comes in is what else can you use except 2FA? Because nowadays with 2FA, there's an issue where you lose your phone, you can't access any sites, you have to mail support, they have to unlock it. Instead, that's why we're doing the facial ID as well. So once you obviously receive your wallet, go through all the setup steps, you'll do create new wallet, or you can import a backup. Obviously, this is just a demo account. It is a real wallet. So you can enter. So this is what your dashboard looks like. It pulls in live pricing. It's still in the offline version. It's just going to connect to the sandbox now. So here's the NewEarthX home. This is the homepage where you can access the website based inside the wallet. So you can still view all the projects, do the website browsing. Here you got your dashboard with all the needed tokens or chains. You can add multiple as well. There's all the tokens, all the chains, all the currencies. There you can also search for. Yeah, so there you can do Whitewell. You can search for any token that is currently live. Here you can pull in a contract. I'll just quickly show you as well. You can pull in a live contract. I'll copy this. Then you can add the token here. Then you can put in a live contract. So, apologies.
Marsha, speak over this if you wish, or Scott.
Yeah, if you've got questions, you're more than welcome to ask.
Well, it's not question. What I wanted to emphasize is what Ethan said about this, because one of the things that for me in about 1984, when I realized that Federal Reserve note actually was fraud in my hands, I tried to get rid of it because I didn't want to be caught spiritually with participating in fraud. So, and what I learned as I was looking through this, and why we set this up in that the Federal Reserve audit circular actually describes the Federal Reserve note as a Federal Reserve audit unit denomination. And when we even see inside the audit circular, the acronym is fraud. They actually are saying it right in their circulars. And that's why the first book I started reading about trying to understand law was The Digest of Divine Law. And that's why even with all these nuts and bolts and all the brilliance that has really gone into this, what we have laid the foundation for this is an ecclesiastic resonance, a spiritual resonance. Our own moral compass is built into this structure.
Beautiful, beautifully stated, Marsha. And again, couldn't be more important. We've upped the dimension to economics, and that is the point. Those are the 0-point social ecology and social economy are the same thing, but they're to do with our sovereign jurisdiction. They're to do with our consciousness upgrade, to do with our return to immanence and immortality and divinity. It's all part of the same mechanism.
Yes, it is. Thank you.
Johnny, on track?
Yeah, no, definitely. So then here's your accounts. So there's obviously based off all the accounts that you have, let's say Ethereum, there's the USDT, USDC link. You can transfer from here as well. You can transact as well, send from this account. You got your history that obviously gives you an audit if transactions that you sent, received, or swaps you made as well. Then here's your backup, encrypted backup. So, and then as soon as you can also just encrypt or import additional backups from that. Your security. So here's your security. There's your 2FA secrets as well. It's basically recovery seed. It's your secured settings behind your wallet itself, your private keys, everything. And then here's another thing, the virtual Visa card. I just want to get that open. I just want to add a card quickly as well.
So that is one of the more important parts, is the Visa card, where, Johan, if you can just explain how that you can use that anywhere, Johan Swannies, how that can be used anywhere, in the world. You can just use that Visa section.
Yeah, the Visa is a virtual card on Apple Pay, Google Pay on your mobile device that you can tap with it any store, any Visa accepted store globally. So yeah, and online shopping, of course, bookings for any daily use.
So that's coming with that's coming with the $2.99 offer, the Ghost Wallet and the Visa card come together, right?
That's correct. Yes, that's correct. Yeah. So you get your card and you get your wallet all seamlessly. So you can then, as I said, buy USDT top-ups, then spend your virtual card anyway. You can basically spend your crypto anyway.
So what can you not use the card for nowadays? You can use it to book your airline tickets. You can use it for your cappuccino in the morning and for your transport and conveyance, all of those. You can use it at the grocery store. You can use it in restaurants. You can use it pretty much for everything, more or less.
Well, everything. Everything you use your normal bank card for every day. Anything you do.
And so here's the thing. As you are joining the New Earth economy, and folks, pay a lot of attention to what I'm saying here. As you get your Ghost Wallet and join the New Earth economy, and you bring 10 people, 50 people, 100 people under you, friends and family alike, who will be thanking you, incidentally, starting tomorrow. This is not a sell. This is not a hard sell. This is not like a hustle in that sense. This is a 0-point economy. You bring 10 people, 50 people, 100 people under you, and every microtransaction that they're making on their card, a percent of that is largely going into your pocket, more or less the way that the affiliate scheme breaks down. So you've got a passive income simply by bringing people into a prosperous economy where they're using cards anyway. Oh, and by the way, it's less percent interest on the New Earth card than it is on any other card out there. We're literally lower than anyone else.
Yep.
But despite that, the percentages that we're making, we're splitting with you as you join the economy. We're spreading the love in that way. So everyone in our economy could have a passive income simply by sitting in our economy and bringing people on board. And again, there's no pyramidal Ponzi nonsense going on here. This is the opposite. This is a prosperity and a boon objective, and it can only succeed. There is no point of failure.
Exactly. Well said. Yeah. So basically, what it comes down to is just there we go. So when you have your virtual card on your phone, you can just easily top it up from your Ghost Wallet with USDT, and off you go. Simple. So it's as simple as that. The system was just created for easy use, daily use, without getting. I don't to say it on live, but don't get taxed too much. But essentially, your money is yours. You own it. You spend it, and it doesn't belong to anyone. It's not controlled by anyone besides you.
Okay, Gideon, anything to add to that?
No, we've gone through everything, and I just can't believe how quickly we got this done. It was an immense last 2 weeks to really put the last things together, and we are just so blessed with the team that we have with us, and the speed that we were able to get this done. So it's through the grace of God that we actually have all of these systems ready, and it's going faster. That I can promise you. The banking system is short on our heels. We're finalizing a few things, and then we're launching with the bank as well, and that's going to happen quite soon.
Very good. So for the moment, you sign up on the website, NewEarthX.com, follow the QR codes, get straight to it, make the $2.99 acquisition, you get your Ghost Wallet, and you get your card. And there's money put into the card out of that to $2.99. Is that the correct price, $2.99 USD?
Correct.
It is. Yes. Gotcha. And some of the money's put onto the card, so you're fully locked and loaded once you receive it and once you're tethered then to the exchange. Is there any downside at all to this system, Gideon or Joe or Johnny? Any downside at all?
No, you're just not going to moan about the banks anymore. You're not going to have an excuse to at a barbecue to actually have something to dislike, if I can put it like that.
So you mean we can't bitch about the priest bankers any longer? What'll I do? Very good. Okay, I think that pretty much brings us to the end. I'm just reading my production notes in case in the event that I've cocked up. You've heard from the whole team here, the core team at least, forgive me. We've done the card overview and the dongle overview. What is that little video there I see here in our video bank, Christy? I'm always inquisitive. It might be the wrong thing to press, but what happened? Oh, there we go. So that's what the Ghost Wallet looks like in high def, high res. So Joe, Gideon, one more time, speak to this. This comes to you in the post. Once you've made the acquisition, you put your thumb on it. How do people get tethered to the exchange with this New Earth Ghost Wallet once they receive it?
Well, once received, they'll set up obviously their biometrics, their fingerprint, do that registration process we just showed you. They'll then have full access to their wallet, and then from there on, if anyone does actually commit into the investments on the projects, they can actually draw in that contract or token onto the wallet itself, manage the tokens, view what's going on. So it just gives you access to the whole NXE exchange as well. The only difference between this wallet, I just want to clarify something quickly. Yes, it does look like another crypto wallet. Yes, it works like another crypto wallet. The only difference is that this wallet is officially completely offline in regards to keys, in regards to generating your wallet within the software. That can actually be done without being connected at all. Secondly, you receive it without any seed phrases on it already. 90% or most, I won't say 90, but most of the wallets that you do receive out there already has a seed phrase set to them, which is actually not correct. So that has been changed. So there's a few small flaws in the industry that we fixed with this to make it 100% private, and that's the difference.
Beautiful. Well,
also, I just want to add.
Carry on.
Sorry, I just want to add to that the when you plug the USB in, it is a normal USB. As soon as you put your fingerprint on it, then it will go access your wallet. On the normal USB section, there is a document stipulating how you need to do it. Everything has been set up for a user that they can actually have direct access and know how to do it. They don't have to go and watch a video. They can just open a PDF file and they can read what to do. The instructions is all in there. And then you put your fingerprint, you register your fingerprint, and it will give you access there to the wallet. Anybody else that uses the wallet will plug it in, and you can even store a few other things onto the wallet on the first section, and it will look like a normal wallet. It's only activated by that fingerprint or second phrase commands and things that Johan has built into it.
Fantastic. Well, welcome to the New Earth economy, the true cost economics revolution, the 0 point economy, something we've been speaking about for years, and finally built out the infrastructure. This is the year, and I just know that Laura Eisenhower and George Lewis are going to corroborate that this is the perfect time today for doing exactly what we've been doing, which is launching the New Earth Exchange. I want to thank Gideon van der Schyff. I want to thank Johan Swanepoel and Johan Chomsa from Africa team. I also want to thank Eric Schwing on the ground in Africa and Anton Boats on the ground heading up our commodities and doing all the daring do stuff. I want to invite Scott, your last thoughts on this before we wind up.
My thoughts are, and this is for the audience, these brilliant minds are using vernacular that I haven't heard in many ways, as Joe just did. Don't worry about it. I got to catch up the speed on that too. As I explained to Sheila Holm, I think, and Dr. Judy Mikovits, I just interviewed both of them. I said to these guys, look, you guys have brains so full of information and you're so used to seeing it. You throw it out here, nobody can follow you. That's why I interrupt, stop. What does that mean? What's that term? And I slow them down to help fill in the gaps so the bridge can be completed. And then I'll get a message from my audience. Thanks for slowing Sheila down. We don't understand what she's saying until you stop them and say, hold on a second. Because if I don't understand, I know they don't. So as I'm listening to this conceptually, I saw it last night, blew my mind, very exciting. Not just because of our sovereignty, but because of all these bank fees that these criminals make like crazy. When you have your own Ghost Wallet and you refer other people to the whole New Earth system, the Ghost Wallet, you get paid for that as well. That's why Sacha said there's like a passive revenue stream. They're decentralizing all of the bullshit from this global crime syndicate and all the money they make, making it a fair revenue stream of money. Theirs is completely unfair, the obscene side, making it fair and just, and that fair and just revenue stream gets spread out all decentralized to we the people part of the exchange.
And Scott, I got to just say this. I mean, the almost $300 billion worth of projects that are lined up in the queue are getting ready to be listed on the exchange. We've started listing in the last week. It's underway today. Every day it's going to be changing. You're going to see more of these programs, projects, developments, initiatives listed. These are government sanctioned. These have got feasibility studies to them. These are bona fide business commercial objectives that make sense and have a profit margin. But these are government projects and private projects that people don't want to go to banks for, because the banks are simply going to fleece and steal for the reasons we've explored and explained. So when you remove that third-party intervention, that Saturnian, satanic, Babylonian priest banker element, and I don't apologize. I've got a lot of friends in the financial arena. Fuck you all. I love you with all of my heart, but you've always known I've stepped away from money myself in that sense. It's an ugly space. It brings entropy. It brings bad karma. We're changing the wheel. The direction of the wheel is moving, friends. So those big super yachts, mega yachts in Monte Carlo and Gibraltar and elsewhere, I mean, that's over. That's over. The sequestration and the heist and the theft from the Commonwealth, that is over. The Commonwealth now spreads on the lateral plane, and this, friends, is how you do it. Marsha, thank you for joining us. Ethan, thank you for joining us. Scott, love you, brother. Delighted that you're the first big influencer who's coming in to launch your own Patriot Street Fighter bank and Ghost Wallet and Visa card adjunct to this economy platform that we've created. I believe within a week or so, there's going to be a Patriot Street Fighter Summit launch. Is that correct?
Yep.
Well, I hope I'm going to be invited to speak on it.
Can't do it. Like anything else I tell the whole world, I can't do it without you, Sacha.
Well, there you go. Bless you, Scott. And then after that, Ethan Lucas is going to be doing a summit to his networks. And so it's going to go on, friends. Thank you so very much for joining me, friends, all of you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, and here we have it. Where am I? Bring me back to the center. Here we go. I am so sorry. 12 minutes, sorry am I, he said, for keeping my friends waiting. George H. Lewis.
Hello. Great to be here. Very interesting to listen in to that last segment.
Well, just to the back end of it. And I've just turned the wheel. We have just turned the wheel of global economy, literally started it in the other direction. You didn't see the front end of it. And I kept this very quiet. The launch of the New Earth exchange was kept very quiet. But it's a conversation I want you to follow and understand. It's huge what we've done. And because we've changed the wheel, turned it in the other direction, it's gentlemen first and not ladies first now, George. We've entered that new era, what to say. But let's bring her on anyway, our sister, Laura Eisenhower. Laura, lovely to see you.
Great to see you. Hi, George. Good to see you too.
Nice to see you too.
Yeah. I think we have to press. There we go. We should all be faces on the screen now. Fantastic. Guys, thank you for joining us on Lazarus today. The big picture. George, going to ask you first. This is the big picture.
Yeah.
The big report, status quo. April opens a rare configuration, one that hasn't been witnessed in over 2 centuries, with 6 planets gathering in Aries, and something we haven't seen since 1821. Let's begin at the widest lens. What kind of larger cycle are we stepping into, and why is this moment so pivotal?
Well, I think if you want the larger cosmic, really, it's to do with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at the 0 point of Aries, which we discussed last time. But to drill down on that, it is really, it's a 6,000, it hasn't happened for 6,000 years. And when Saturn, he's in his absolute weakest, is what's called, he's in his detriment in Aries. And he's conjoined Neptune, which is that Christed archetype of dissolving and activating spiritual mastery. So when we put it on the personal level, it is we the people activating our self-mastery, Aries. Neptune is the spiritual, and Saturn is the mastery. And it's the destruction of the old Saturnian Babylonian system that is really going to go into absolute freefall now with the Aries energy. I mean, today, yes, it's April Fool's. Well, it's Happy New Year. We all know the switcheroo there. in the past. But it's the Fool card, in a way, which bring it back to the tarot, is how do we step over the threshold? How do we go on our hero's journey? We have the cosmic winds on our back. I mean, not quite yet, and we can get into the details with Laura in a bit. Mars and Mercury are still in Pisces, but come April 9th and April 15th, respectively, we're going to have 7+ planets in Aries. The fuel is phenomenal. The activation is absolutely unprecedented, and it is really the London cabal, the Vatican, you name it, however you want to describe it. Empire is done.
Empire is done. Beautifully stated. Okay, Laura, we bring down the Aries versus Libra, the axis, bring it down from the macro into lived experience. We're also meeting a Libra full moon, pointing us toward balance, relationships, and recalibration. So how should we understand this tension between the Aries initiation and the Libra equilibrium? What is being asked of us through that axis?
Oh, so wonderful. Great question. Well, these are polarities. Libra directly opposite Aries. So the moon right now, the full moon is opposite the sun, Saturn, and Neptune. And the nodal axis, which is the south node right now in Virgo with the north node Pisces conjunct Mercury, that integration of polarity eclipses activates with the nodal axis. So it shows that the growth period of us personally and in the collective, as a collective, is to integrate polarity. So when we look at the integration of Libra, full moon, and Aries, there's a lot going on with the Aries energy. First off, like you were saying, a lot of planets in Aries, more moving into Aries later on in April. The Aries energy is all about action, leadership, stepping up. The Saturn, Neptune in Aries is dissolving the control system. It's forcing a maturity in humanity. It's like, it's time to grow up. It's time to be spiritually mature. Aries is forcing action. It's a solar plexus energy. And with that brings about consequences. And so the polarity of Libra is justice. If action is not in alignment, there are going to be consequences. And the structure of Saturn, which is holding a reality that will allow the Neptune creative imagination to determine what reality a person is going to exist in, based in timelines, based in belief systems, based in processes of being mature enough to wake up, being accountable enough with yourself to see through the illusion, to see through the lies and deceptions, and to trust in what the nervous system is trying to alert you to understand, because we're encoded with the ability to determine and discern what is truth versus what is false. But it's the system that has addicted us to ways of distracting ourselves from it, medicating it, silencing it, being addicted to something to avoid it. And now the consequences are, if you keep staying locked into that, and that dependency bond with a system that's crumbling is still, where you're hooked into, the consequences are going to be great. But if you take action based in the principles of your integrity, of truth, of accountability, of leadership, of answering to your inner calling, the scales of balance and justice, will bless you with beautiful connections, a feeling of community, stronger relationships. And right now, because everything is so aligned with the outer planets, there's major squares going on. Chiron's in Aries. It forms a square, with Pluto. And also it has with Jupiter. So the mother wounds are coming up. Toxicity is reaching a boiling point in humanity where the ramifications and consequences for not going through the transformation cycle will cause an ending for people. They won't be able to hold the physical form anymore. Or they will go through a massive purging and cleansing and transformative healing process that the healing tools and modalities that are coming online and are more available, that have been around for a long time, free energy, all of that, the shift in currency, everything that you're doing, and what we have been doing as a community, and all the awakening individuals, that's what's pushing it forward. So the scales of balance in integration with Aries is the independence and self-identity, self-knowledge, and knowingness of who you are, and functioning in relationship as a solid sovereign being that is not giving your power away, because Libra is not just about relationships. It's our relationship with creation, cosmic and natural law, the energy of Mach, the scale of balance that, will tilt in a place of ramification where the cosmic and natural law, creative imagination, and the structure of Saturn is no longer tyranny, authority, and control systems. It's about self-authority, Aries, and holding the Libra energy as a template of divine union and the true Christ Sophia, and how that also heals the planetary grid network from inversion as well. So this is a time of major correction and major consequence if you're not jumping on board, and the ramifications will be felt in the micro world, in your physical vessel. The anxiety, the fatigue, the nervous energy will increase, and the breakthroughs are going to be that much more great, because there's nowhere left to go but forward in truth and integrity.
George, is there any flaw that I can find in what she's just said? Any flaw at all?
None whatsoever. But it is a massive stress test, April.
Yeah.
And I think, with this stellium, the question is, Laura's right. How do we manage this Aries energy? Because Aries energy is volatile. It's initiatory. It's very, very active. And as a result, it's like a tinderbox. So the question is, how do you embark on that hero's journey? Are you doing it with fear? Because, Saturn there is fear and Mars fuels it. We do have both malefics, not yet, next week, in the sign of Aries. So it's going to be a very, very tricky dance. But if one's doing the spiritual work, Neptune, I just had a massive thunderstorm where I am in the mountains here of the Catskills, upstate New York last night. And I wouldn't say that if it wasn't. I've never experienced the electrical currents that I experienced last night. Trees came down. It was phenomenal. And it was on the eve of the full moon in Aries. To me, as all of us in this community, we understand how to read the symbols, and we see the synchronicities. And so we've got to do the spiritual work, barefoot on the ground. We've got to do the meditation, and some technologies can be there to help us. And we're all coming across different technologies to support, but the breath work, the human side, the self-sovereignty, the self-mastery, not the technocratic. It is the rejection of the transhuman and the homoborg genetic. And the more we pull back into the divine biological, we connect through source, as I had to through prayer last night, as the house was being totally electrified. It was a great challenge. And this is where we go forward in great joy and resolute, together as a team, but also as an individual. And I think that's what it's about.
Well, sounds rather redolent of the meek inheriting the earth there, Mr. Lewis, so if I may say so. The relational field, let's look at Venus and Pluto. Laura, nowhere is that tension felt more directly than in how we relate to each other and to what we value, especially with Venus in Taurus now squaring Pluto, he said, reading notes as though he knows the stuff off by heart. Laura, what is this configuration specifically transforming in how we relate to love, money, and personal worth?
Awesome. Yeah, so Libra is ruled by Venus. We have the full moon in Libra, right? That's actually in harmony with Pluto. All the outer planets are in harmony with each other, slow-moving planets that are generational planets that show that this is a time of awakening, where the growth periods and initiations and things that feel beyond our control are upgrading us to stepping up to the best of ourselves. Now, with Venus in Taurus, as it moved into Taurus, it was connected to Chiron in Aries before it moved into Taurus. So we were looking at ego wounds connected to the heart, connected to maybe invalidation or ego identity issues. And that's where people gravitate towards labels or the divide and conquer, or who's the biggest victim and victim consciousness, and, deep heartbreak too. And a lot of triggers coming up, that Libra energy activating, relationship wounds. Now it's more about self-worth, more about our relationship with abundance. Venus is still close enough to Chiron for that to impact it. Then you add, the square to Pluto, and you had the Venus Chiron square to Pluto. People are having to step away from relationships that don't serve them. Their relationship relationship with abundance and self-worth is under evaluation. Where is that wounded? Where is there over-identification? I love what you said about money and your friends that you love, but you are not in that world. And it's like you're in the warrior mode of that energy, of self-worth connected to integrity, connected to healing, connected to service, connected to what it really means to be an abundant spiritual being who's taking the responsibility upon yourself to be a healing force in the world, for the planet, for the multidimensional, and everything being woven back together into unity and just that full-on alignment. So, and some are, falling into the pain of it all, the wanting to distract, wanting to go numb, wanting to run away, or wanting to have what the Taurus energy represents in its shadow form, which is, I need this to define me in order to feel good and to have confidence. And that's running out of steam because it's starting to lose its value if it's not connected to integrity and service in a way that assists humanity, because it's been very exploitive. It's been very vampiric for far too long. And so where people have let self-worth become siphoned from and harvested, and also where relationships have fed on maybe insecurity or lack of abundance or scarcity complexes or all of those kind of wounds, it's all coming up for evaluation. The Pluto square is making it painful for people because Pluto wants to take us into transformation. The squares show where people resist the transformation and feel stuck in that, I don't want to be here, I just want to die, or you can't let go. And the pain gets so great. But the true release and liberation is letting go and allowing the birth process to complete itself. Where it's taking us to see the emergence of something so much more pristine, so much more true, so much more soul-centered. And it's letting go of these attachments that have defined us for far too long to see this immaculate divine human emerge in greater trust of nature, of synchronicities, of magic, of flow, and of this new earth that's emerging organically because it's seeded as such. This is encoded in us from source itself.
Beautifully stated. Wow. George, the full moon closure, the reveal, as these pressures build, something else begins to surface, which is clarity. So, and this is a moment where what's been building can no longer remain unresolved, which is often the function of a full moon. So what is coming into focus now that allows people to close a chapter or make a decisive shift?
I mean, obviously, if I'm going to be very literal as an astrologist, I would say, obviously, with relationships, Libra, we're releasing old relationships. But because it's the Aries activation, also the old relationship with ourself. And to piggyback after what Laura just mentioned, that's allowing that stronger intuition to come through and to be developed. And that's, for me, the Saturn-Neptune thing is such a big part of this, whether it's just the full moon, just April going forward. I mean, we play out the Saturn-Neptune conjunction for many, many months to come. Mind to heart, emotional intelligence coming online. So many of us are tapping into the etheric in a way that we haven't before. I mean, for me, the elementals is really beginning to come through, coming from Cornwall originally. And just meeting so many people are getting their own versions of connecting to the non-tangible. And I think in that sense, the Aries energy is allowing that freedom. Such a key word for Aries, of self-mastery, but being able to explore yourself. I mean, we come here to explore the self. I mean, the Delphic Oracle, to know thyself. And the frequency, the bandwidth is being burst apart now. And where before it was such a tight frequency of Saturnian control. And now the potential is just massive. So I think the full moon is the release of those older relationships with oneself or other.
Beautiful. And the return of the fairy and elven folk as well. If I didn't, I got that right, yes?
You totally got it. I mean, the elves and the fairies resonate with me more than the dwarfs and the trolls, but I love them all.
Very good. Well, Laura and I prefer the trolls. We just love the trolls.
Totally. We're the Billy Goat's Gruff crossing the bridge.
Right, exactly right. So timelines are the collective path. And I'll put this at Laura first. There's another layer which is emerging in these conversations, one that speaks not just to change, but to divergence and the idea that people may be moving along very different paths. Does this astrology suggest that we're entering a kind of timeline separation, and Christ knows I hate that word. But what determines that trajectory of this paradigmatic shift?
Well, I think people, really internalize knowledge, their gifts and abilities, the truth that they wish they could speak that has been silenced, interrupted, ridiculed. It's passed down generation to generation. It's just been something our society has rigged to suppress, so that we just regurgitate the social engineering, whatever we've learned in school or religions and all the pillars of society and what we're fed. And so I think people that really struggle with finding their own inner sovereignty, that want that dependency or want to be in that reward system because of the punishment they might have received if they didn't, or the ridicule for being true to themselves. It's a longer road, but I see a separation that has a bridge between the two splits. And then I see it coming back together almost in the form of a heart. That's the vision I was having. Like, it comes back in the form of a heart, because source never gives up on us. We're never left behind. There's never true separation. Even species that might have digressed or been bioengineered, or as we see with certain races and beings, compromised out of their capacity to even reproduce, or under the control of a dominant species that is all a part of this fragmentation of creation and just how it's all been. The opportunity and choice to be able to correct course and have a breakthrough and have that awakening to help you to cross over into the timeline that is taking one on a greater trajectory is always there. That's why I see a split with a bridge. And there's a lot of people that are walking back and forth on the bridge to help as many souls as possible to get on the trajectory that is one that would allow us to thrive and break down the programming so we can live longer and we can regenerate. And these gifts, abilities, and skills and God-given inheritances beyond the Anunnaki, beyond any kind of manipulation, working alongside with, technologies and healing modalities, is always there. So no matter how far away from that a person gets, they're always a breakthrough, like right under their nose, like right there, hiding in their intuition and in their soul and in their higher awareness that's just trying to get their attention. But the problem is as it tries to get their attention, they're looking outside of themselves for the solution. And those aren't the people to look towards. These are not the solutions, getting more assimilated into the technology or the AI or the engineered events and the psyops. And those aren't there. People can't get away with it anymore. That's why I see a split coming back together. It might be a longer route to get back on track, but when you see that ship is sinking, you're going to grab onto that lifeboat. You're going to grab that preserver. You're going to start to be forced to awaken. And if you can't do it and you die, you're going to have a life review and you're going to come back and repeat what you have to until you get it right. So I don't see a split that just splits off. I see it coming back together with a bridge between the two, because the unconditional love of source will not allow anybody to not have an opportunity at any given time to reroute and get back on track.
Perfect. And perfectly describing the physics of time as well, that we're standing on a donut in that sense. So, torus, and can we come back on ourselves into and outer? George, emphasis on geopolitics here. Given that we're obviously going through a delightful planetary shit show at the geopolitical level, and it's great in a way because it really is testament to the fact that we've reached the end of times. No, you cannot play these fucking theatrics in any more lurid technicolor than are being played right now. And I throw in there Trump, who I'm more or less a fan of, but and I believe I understand what's going on in Iran in that whole dialectic. I believe it's a catalyzing point where the fundamentalist Zionist Christian fanatical mindset is being pitted equally now against the fanatical Islamist mindset. Perfect. Let them self-annihilate. It's about fucking time that it kind of just disqualified themselves in a theater. But for rightly or wrongly, we're going through an interminable kind of dissolution and fracturing geopolitically. So as we widen the lens again, astrologically speaking, the forces that we're dealing with aren't just personal, they're systemic. Everything is called into play. How might this Aries concentration combined with the Pluto influence begin to manifest across global systems, politically, economically, and socially?
Yeah, I mean, because of the Middle East, you're so right, because of course it's also galactic with some of the hidden stargates and portals there, the Black Rock in Iran and all that, which people like Gene Decode have drilled down, and Michael Suller and many others. Obviously, Saturn is fear, Uranus is freedom. So, and we know that in the myth, Saturn gets castrated. Saturn castrates his father Uranus. So there's always this tension between the two. That's polarity consciousness. But do you want me to focus a bit more on the geopolitical? Well, let's talk about maybe the fog of war, because we're with the Neptune-Mars conjunction, which we will experience literally. I mean, it's coming into effect next week with activation in a matter of 10 days. A lot of people, even other astrologers, will see it through the fog of war, the negative, that military action is going to happen and we're all going to be deceived and we're all going into World War III. Well, that's the predictive programming from my perspective. This is the great revelation of the predictive programming, thinking, the protocols of the Elders of Zion and the whole program of World War I, II, III. And we're beginning to see the playbook. And I think that's why our community tends to understand, to an extent, Trump's job in this. It's the archetype of Trump. I always bring it back to the astrology because kind of that's why I'm here. Trump's natal chart is Uranus conjunct North Node conjunct Sun, meaning he is the total disruptor. He's also 5G chess, and I know we hear that a lot, but it's in the astrology. You can't map it. You can't apply linear Saturn logic, hence Project Looking Glass, hence time travel, hence travels with Baron Trump. It is, we have to literally, so you ask about the two timelines. Ultimately, the timeline that is still linear, Saturnian, fearful, is that older timeline. The one that chooses to be multidimensional, heart, toroidal field, as you just said. And I can feel it already in my body. I allow the emotions to come through. The brain is the servant of the heart. Thank you, Egypt. Actually, thank you, Atlantis. And actually, we are activated. There is Homo luminous as opposed to Homo stupiditus.
Yes, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, let's look at the inside. Let's turn the lens to the internal experience. Laura, for those experiencing this not as theory, but in the body, in the emotions, and in real time, it can feel incredibly intense. So what is actually happening on an energetic or even physiological level for individuals during this kind of time of great shift? Oh, we've lost your audio.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, the body's going through a very intense time. South Node being in Virgo is putting a lot of focus on our physiology. The South Node represents foundational energy, the past, what we're reflecting on, what we're reflecting on as we move forward to integrate polarity. And the North Node being Pisces, the opposite of Virgo, it's really the body, mind, spirit communication. When we step into the Piscean, which is ruled by Neptune, it's the creative imagination. But if we look at the lower astral or the lower dimensional levels in the multidimensional that connect with the creative imagination, are we functioning on a level of archonic deception where we're haunted by the past, where there's entity attachments, where our creative imagination is infected with propaganda and social engineering? Well, if it is, how does that speak to the body, the physiology that Virgo represents, ruled by Mercury? How does Mercury speak to the body? That's really what the Virgo energy is about. So if the mind is speaking to the body, programmings or archonic deceptions or entity attachments, negative self-talk, suffering in life, thinking that's all you're going to get, or feeling, the programmings if you have to work hard, and it's going to experience dis-ease, which is also very much the Virgo energy. But Virgos are the great healers. They heal through the adversity of dis-ease and then get on a healing path because they start to change the way the mind speaks to the body. So in this time of awakening, the mind is beginning to pick up on all that's possible, all we're capable of, the human potential, our dreams and our visions. When people make dreams come true or they defy the odds, A doctor might tell them they can't walk again and they walk anyway. It's the miracle vibration of, you know what, I can do it. You can't tell me I can't do it, because the authority structures and the programmings have impacted the mercury in the way we talk to the body, that the epigenetics are constantly keeping us in a loop of dis-ease, mental illness, all of the above on every elemental level. And the system feeds on it and feeds on it. And that's where the archons in the Piscean opposite comes in, because it's all connected, and alien agendas and all in the hidden sphere in the Neptune. So when we speak to the dreams and visions, when we speak to our bodies from our higher self, our bodies begin to activate. We begin to deprogram. And in order for that to function well, we need to cry when we need to cry. We need to understand depression is really soul longing. Something in our soul wants to get our attention and not just give up on life, because that's going to keep us in a low place. We want to understand our anger and the passion behind it, and the action that we must take in order to turn that action into purpose, into leadership in whatever capacity. We need to work with all the elementals and purify them and learn from nature, because nature knows how to bring equilibrium back into balance. But a geoengineered world is no different than a socially engineered human. So as the human wakes up and as the human breaks the bonds of the social engineering agendas, we also collapse and break down and dismantle the geoengineering and the weaponry that is trying to control the trajectory of the human race. The two go hand in hand. So, the bigger picture and the smaller picture are absolutely related in this way. So, we want to just move through it and allow the dialogue to be really authentic with ourselves. When you feel anxiety, write it down, talk to it. That's your higher self trying to get your attention. When you feel a surge of emotion or depression, let the floodgates open, let yourself rain, let the clouds, nurture the soil, and let those seeds grow. Like I used to say, crying to me is allowing the watering the seeds of my dreams. Like crying is literally watering the seeds of your dreams, and that's what nature teaches us. So the Virgo energy gets us in touch with nature. Neptune gets us in touch with the spiritual, and that's the restoration of the tree of life, where the integration of the earth and the heavens is one within your body, and you're now speaking to source, not programmings, not the things that keep us sick.
Beautiful. And you keep bringing it back to relationship with self, and as George did earlier, alluded to that same thing. And to me, that's what it's all about. Everything now: regenesis, resurrection, restoration, reclamation, ascension. All of it is connected to. We have no choice but to follow the inertia that takes us into that toroidal field, brings us back to 0 point. 0 point is always the atom seed of creator within the I am. That is the benediction of your pulse, whoever you be, whatever you be, in whatever clime, whatever dimension. But as the witness, as the I am, and we must bring it back to that. And in that state of stillness, of serendipity, that grace point, we're able to dial ourselves up ever greater. And I think that's what we're seeing now. This tremendous kind of confluence of and collapsing of the dialectic of the checkerboard of the kingdom of the devil. No one knows what's black or white any longer, for that very reason, because neither of them served ultimately. It doesn't matter, the Nietzschean notion of beyond good and evil. I'm agreed. There is a place beyond good and evil. In that indivisible state of grace, the I am prevails, the witness prevails, and then we can enter that grace point where we do and can manifest the outcomes, because we become one with the Creator. There is no separation, and that laborious trial of separation is no longer. So in closing, the question becomes not just what is happening to us, but how we meet it as the perennial witness. So for each of you, just in closing, how can individuals consciously work with this emergent geometry of light, which is patently what it is, in a way that leads to growth and upshift rather than reactivity and collapse? And I'll put that to you first, George.
Well, we are very blessed at this time with the outer planets. You mentioned the sea point, the Adam point of creativity. And with Pluto at the early stages of Aquarius, with Saturn, Neptune at the early stages of Aries, and then, of course, with Uranus about to go into the early stages of Gemini. This is a key, important keystone in the ingredient. We're making a cosmic soup here. And on April 26th, it's going to be phenomenal. Uranus, the outer planets don't rule signs in classical astrology, but if Uranus could rule any sign, it would rule Gemini. It has a good run in Aquarius. The point here is we will see, to piggyback after what you've just shared before Laura and I came on, the economic financial sovereignty, we are going to go into massive overdrive. The systems change from beginning of May onwards. And I mean, I said this last year when we had that little window, didn't we, in the summer, when Uranus went into Gemini and then retrograded back. Bitcoin went to an all-time high. XRP went 3.5. And I'll say it again, unless I've got it totally wrong, we are going to see that quantum financial system come online in some much bigger capacity. And moreover, it's just disclosure. It's the toroidal field being activated. And I suppose that intellectual old, as you said, dialectic is being rejected when Pluto's in Aquarius. Actually, it's really asking us to say, is really it just about the mind? I mean, I think, therefore I am. No, it's much bigger than that. And it's the rejection of Descartes, I think, and moving on to something much more conscious.
Yes.
And the outer planets, the outer planets really support our evolutionary drive towards higher realms of consciousness.
Laura, same to you. How can we all consciously now receive this transmission of vibral light, of this new encoded quanta of light, which brings with it remembrance of who and what we truly are? How best to make use of the technology of light? We can't hear you again.
We want to listen to our internal guidance and know that our intuition, our higher self, everything about us is designed to thrive and ascend and hold this tremendous, light energy moving into, the crystalline. The laws of alchemy are with us. We've been in a system of inversion that made it inaccessible to where the dodecahedron platonic solid and the ether element connected to the mitochondrial DNA was damaged.
Yeah.
The dark mother reversal grids, the architecture of the Illuminati, the mothers of darkness, all of it to create this enclosure and these seals and fences that have limited our ability to be the fullness of all that we are. But it doesn't function just as weaponry. It requires the consent. It requires the belief systems. It requires us to adopt it, like it's a persona, like it's our reality, like it's what being human is all about, and it's not. We are so much more than that. So we want these adversities and these energy blocks and these confusions and everything that doesn't feel right to be our guide, to allow it to crack us open, to allow it to become an opportunity and not a hindrance. We need to frame these experiences in a way that serves us instead of harms us. We can look at whatever is trying to stop this process as a reminder instead of being victimized by it. We need to become more empowered and stand in the leadership of the self, saying, I remember who I am in the face of this, instead of allowing the amnesia, allowing the trauma loops, allowing the world events to, bring you into a place of really buying into the trajectory of why that technology was ever manipulating the grid system or us to begin with. Because it wanted this grand finale to be New World Order, not Ascension. It wanted to have us enslaved because we wanted it. We asked for it. We enabled it. They're vampires. We are creating it for them. They just set up everything for us to comply, leveraging our vulnerability, our unconscious wounds connected to galactic wars that we don't hear about in school. So we want to allow the body to serve us and the pain to guide us and everything uncomfortable to be a reminder and opportunity for more unity, more togetherness, more remembrance, and more willingness to bring it to the surface and guide it forward in a way that allows the alchemy to work its magic, because it's a law of creation. It's not just something we figure out. It's something that's always been there. And now that the 13th sign is back online, now that the reversal energies have been corrected, the grid work, the outer planets, all of it has completed enough for it to sustain the light energy of ascension to permeate throughout the planetary grids and our own nervous systems. It's just a matter of allowing that alignment in every day, in every way that you show up, from the minute you go to bed to the minute you fall asleep. It's in every moment. What are you putting in your body? There are herbs and healing technologies and frequencies that you can work with every day, and crystals, and just being in nature that will give you exactly what you need in the medicine you need to move through these uncomfortable parts or passages. And make sure you have the right people in your life. If it feels toxic, if you don't feel like you can be yourself, if you feel hurt and your communication is being dismissed and you feel harmed, just honor yourself, have boundaries. Let Saturn not be the thing that causes fear. Let it be discernment and boundaries and the guardian of your temple, so that you are holding the self-worth to only bring in what will serve your growth and health, and everything else
Indeed.
just belong.
Beautiful. Well, your self-worth, of course, is only valuable if you have that relationship with self and with truth, pure truth. So indeed, couldn't agree more with that. And thank you both so very much. It's such a joy always to be in the same climb, the same room as you guys. And you're very graciously joining me and a group virtually. I think we're beaming you in virtually to the Mayan Riviera retreat next month, which I'm very grateful to. And there's going to be a delightful gift for both of you, which will be. I'll speak to you about that in the course of the next few days. So you'll be very excited about that, trust me. But in any event, for you, the audience looking in, please, this is the Mayan Riviera retreat. Limited spaces available. Book now if you wish to. Santos Bonacci is also coming in remotely. Scott McKay, Jane Evershed, Dave Emery, Marsha Ann Willitson will be in situ. Professor Glenn Ryan will be in situ. And we're going to have a great deal of fun for a few days here before I head out of Mexico. Laura, thank you, my darling girl. And George, thank you.
Such a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you for having us. So nice to see you, Laura.
Love you guys.
So great to see you too, George. Love you both.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Terrific. Okay, what's happened to me? I've gone all weird to one side. Friends, so thank you for joining me and our beleaguered team. I say beleaguered in a very positive way. It's just been incredible a few weeks getting ready for this New Earth Exchange launch. I'll say it again in closing. When I say closing, I'm going to step back now and just watch the rest of the symposium because it was pre-recorded segments. But we made history today. It is the 1st of April, 2026. We've made history in the past. We've done extraordinary things. Midsummer last year, we did a historic consecration and proclamation event in Tanasi, New Earth Tanasi. We consecrated that land and have begun the process of returning it to its original land patterns, declared full autonomy with the New Earth Nation coalition, our sovereign standing and jurisdiction, which is higher than that of the Vatican or the Pentagon or the Crown of England. And all of that language is nested in and folded perfectly into the genesis of the New Earth Exchange, the New Earth Bank and economy, coin, and treasury that are just going online starting today. So please pay attention to the website. It's incredibly well articulated. You can go to NewEarthX.com. I heartily recommend you get a ghost wallet now because they're going to be hard to come by as the orders start crunching in. But right now, the fulfillment can send them to you. And the minute you receive that with your thumbprint, you're in this private universe. You get your Visa card, it'll have some money topped up, and you can start to conduct your own affairs outside of the purview of Big Brother, government, and the big banks. And it's a whole new ecosystem that's being created. An inordinate amount of time and energy and love and resource has gone into developing it over years. It's yours, it's your playground. And as we were saying earlier, it's a place where you can begin now to also have an income, a passive income, especially if you're a creative person. Just get more people brought into it, and they'll thank you. So cheaper charges, a lower interest, all the rest of it. Go to NewEarthX.com. Christy, do me a favor, please, and put up the banner if I'm speaking about it. That would help folks. Thank you. Or follow that, scan that QR code now. And I will be coming back online next week with Scott McKay to do a special Patriot Street Fighter launch. And I think the following week with Ethan Lucas amongst his networks, and pretty much every week thereafter. Certainly for the next 6 months, I'm going to be singularly promoting the New Earth Exchange and Treasury and Coin and Bank, because what we've done, as I said, is historic. The International Tribunal for Natural Justice, which we launched in 2015 and which is ongoing, was ahead of the curve, 9 years ahead of the curve. We were naming the Epstein files and Pizzagate and all of that shite. We were calling it out almost a decade ago. With the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. And here we are with the New Earth Exchange. We are way ahead of the curve, friends. Jump on this. It's going to be one hell of a wave. All right, Christy, I think that's it from me. Just I'll pop up this one more time. If anyone wants to join me here in Mexico at Bacala Laguna in a month from now, it'll be between the 3rd and the 9th of May. We've got some folks flying in from different parts of the world. It's going to be a beautiful immersion retreat, a week-long retreat. There's a lot of adventure, archaeological adventure, swimming with manatee and dolphins and boating and kayaking and late nights quantum conversations around the fire at the luxury villas on the Bacala Laguna, just down the drift from our headquarters here, and you'll be coming to our New Earth headquarters as well. All right, that's about it, friends. Christy, thank you for anchoring today, and thank you to the team who've worked so tirelessly on getting the New Earth Exchange ready for roll today. I'm going to go and put my coffee on and get onto a sofa and watch the rest of the retreat, watch the rest of the symposium from there. Thanks, Christy. I'm out. Hey,